Part 99. I'm Really Immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Rusiahua. Chapter 1008. The roasted pork knuckle made today embodies Zhou Shuling's determination to prove her talent in cooking. The aroma spread and there was a ding sound. When Zhou Shuling took out the roasted pork knuckle from the oven wearing thick anti-scald gloves, she walked and jumped. Shang Guandandan, who was singing in his mouth, waved the 500 in his hand. Yuan, returned home on time. Nuan, go to the kitchen first and see if Xiaoling needs help, Shang Guandandan said to An Nuan, who was following behind him and making eye contact with Lu Chang'an. This not only shows that the Queen Mother is thinking about the housework in the kitchen, but also avoids the crisis of Lu Chang'an finding out that she walked into the kitchen and taking the opportunity to embarrass the Queen Mother. No one would embarrass his beloved girlfriend. An Nuan left in a hurry, and it was not easy to tell Lu Chang'an that Shang Guandandan might have discovered her after she stayed overnight. After Shang Guandandan ordered An Nuan, he came to Lu Chang'an, holding 500 yuan in both hands, swaying it left and right, jumping up and down to show off in front of him, feeling extremely proud. I heard Nuan say that you only earned 200 yuan a day working on the construction site last year. Look at me, Shang Guandandan held up her salary high. Your leaflets were distributed today, can you still get money? Lu Chang'an looked at Shang Guandandan in confusion. Could it be that he got it by relying on the majesty in the Queen Mother's eyes and glaring hard at others? She used this trick many times, defrauding people of eggs and gifts at health product marketing organizations and other places, and getting a few green onions, peppers, and perilla when buying things at the vegetable market. The company on the flyer decided to hold yesterday's marketing event today, so the promotion on the flyer is valid, so of course I can get the money. Shang Guandandan looked at the light carefully and looked at it again, checking the authenticity of the bank notes. He put the 500 yuan into his sleeve pocket. She originally planned to give it to Lu Chang'an and ask him to transfer another 500 to her on WeChat, but she thought that she could also use cash on weekdays. For example, if she was not happy about losing when playing cards, she would give someone else 100 yuan to find. 0, if you can't find it, you can count it together next time. Next time, maybe Dandan will make a fortune. The Queen Mother is really good at calculations, and her strategies are like the sea. Shang Guandandan nodded with satisfaction and praised himself. What kind of crazy company is this? Lu Chang'an didn't see the beautiful side of Shang Guandandan with tears in his eyes, so he couldn't help but turn his head and glance at Zhu Huntang. An Yuan is an ordinary person's character. Logically speaking, he would only tell Shang Guandandan not to do useless work. Only Zhu Huntang would deliberately make unnecessary efforts. Zhu Huntang was leading her little lamb to nibble on a potted plant on the balcony. This pot of maidenhair fern was growing really vigorously, and there were a lot of tea leaves at the roots. Lu Chang'an raised it so that the little lamb found it delicious. Feeling Lu Chang'an's eyes, Zhu Huntang turned around and nodded casually. He didn't need to thank her. Making the Queen Mother happy was the bounden duty of the princess of the colorful glaze pure white fairyland and the void-severing dragon flame immortal. I will go out to work in the future. After Shang Guandandan collected the money, he stamped his feet to signal Lu Chang'an to look at her, and announced loudly with his hands on his hips. Part-time job? That's what you call Lu Chang'an sneered. Whether it was working part-time or running her vending machine, Shang Guandandan was following a crooked way, which was not the way for a serious person to make a living. Shang Guandandan didn't take it seriously. He must have been furious when he saw that he didn't earn as much as she did from his part-time job. He is still suitable for moving bricks, a job with little technical content, and naturally earns less. I hope he can learn from the Queen Mother and do more advanced work in the future. The Queen Mother is not only diligent and frugal, but also knows how to live her life meticulously and shrewdly. She can also go out to work to make money. She also owns a huge real estate industry, which basically leaves Lu Chang'an, who only has half a rice noodle shop, far behind. From now on, Dan Dan should be in charge, and all expenditures should be controlled and decided by her. However, Lu Chang'an will definitely not delegate power, which is helpless. Shangguan Dan Dan touched the owl and stared at him attentively, hoping he understood the look in her eyes, and consciously handed over her account books, bank cards, bank books, etc. Lu Chang'an continued to read. Fourier transform, the proof of Dirichlet's theorem, Laplace transform, the establishment of basic mathematical and physical equations, and the three-dimensional wave equation were all easier to understand than Shangguan's dull eyes. So Shangguan Dandan went to Zhu Huntang, who was feeding sheep, and together they whispered bad things about Lu Chang'an behind his back. I made so much money today, Lu Chang'an may have never seen it in his life. He is jealous of me. That's for sure. He is just an ordinary person when it comes to making money. He is different from geniuses like us. I want to save some money to buy him a wife. You see, he has so many gifts to prepare. Poor parents in the world. And Nuan was helping Zhou Shuling with the roasted pork knuckle in the kitchen. Zhou Shuling's roasted pork knuckle was very successful today. It looked like a ripe yellow pineapple, and the pig skin was browned and crispy in pieces. There was a click sound when it was cut with a knife. Zhou Shuling prepared the dry ingredients and now makes some dipping sauce. This is beyond the scope of An Nuan's help. All An Nuan has to do is slice the pork knuckles and put them on the plate. Zhou Shuling's cooking skills cannot be compared with those of Lu Chang'an and Qin Yanan, but they are still one level better than ordinary people. Duntun taught me how to do housework on the road just now. She has a trick, which is to turn the faucet until only a drop of water comes out. If you take the water like this, the water meter will not turn. And Nuan lowered her voice and couldn't help laughing. She just said it for fun. Besides boiling water, Dandan didn't know how to do any housework. Once she was playing with the washing machine, and she wasted enough water and washing powder to save water for a year and a half. Zhou Shuling also smiled and shook her head. But who would care about such a cute and beautiful little girl? Zhou Shuling couldn't harden her heart anyway, so Lu Chang'an was immune to Shangguan Dandan's various grievances: pitiful, unbelievable, delicate, frightened eyes and expressions. Does Lu Chang'an usually cook and do housework? And Nuan asked again. There's no need for him. I usually do all the work. Even if the store is busy sometimes, he won't leave the work there and wait for me to come back to do it. He will take care of it himself. Zhou Shuling's tone is gentle, and she always mentions him. I couldn't help but lower my voice a little, and spoke slowly and slowly. He is indeed much better than other boys. How many of today's boys can cook and do housework? It turns out that the same goes for girls, so it's okay to fall in love often, but once they live together, they can't live together. And Nuan, a sense of crisis arises spontaneously. Can Lu Chang'an like this live with those chachas who don't know how to do housework and can only dress up and act cute and coquettish? Fortunately, I took precautions and would not give them a chance. That's true, but when you get married, Lu Chang'an will definitely not let you do more housework. Look at your hands. The skin and tender flesh are almost shining. You have to take good care of them. Who is willing to let you work? Zhou Shuling glanced at An Nuan's hand. Her skin was almost the same as Shangguan Dandan's, so beautiful. An Nuan is a little shy. She feels really good in the past 2 days. Both her mother-in-law and her sister-in-law are very easy to get along with. It seems that the family will be harmonious in the future. She can wholeheartedly guard against those things like Westlake, Longjing, Xiniang, Magian, Taiping, Monkey, Kulu, Yunwuo, Inchi, Yulu and so on. After lunch, Shangguan Dandan's fragile body felt very tired after working all morning and needed a good rest. He sat behind the electric heating table with half-squinted eyes, holding the thermos pot and watching TV, planning to wait. I'll try my luck at playing cards with someone later. I made 500 yuan today. It was a day of making money. Zhou Shuling went to Beilong Center. Lu Chang'an and Zhu Huntang had classes in the afternoon, and An Nuan also went there. Zhu Huntang gave her little lamb to the bread man to take back. She has discovered that the most suitable pet for her is the little lamb, such as a cat, a dog, an alpaca, a Komodo dragon, a bear, a rabbit, etc. Neither is the best fit. The dolphin is not bad, it feels like a husky in the sea, but it is a pity that you can't lead it for a walk on the street. The amusement park invested by Baojun will open next year. I have raised several dolphins, beluga whales, penguins, sea lions, etc. there. Then I will let my pets compete for favors and let them start a palace fight. The one who is most favored will be named the immortal favor, Zhu Huntang decided with a rather imperial air. Can you do something normal? Lu Chang'an suspected that Zhu Huntang must have been in Su Mei's belly for too long, which is why his mind is so weird. Just like a normal person locked up in a house where he has no worries about eating, drinking, and sleeping but is isolated from the outside world for 180 years, he will definitely go crazy as soon as he is released. I heard that beluga whales can imitate human speech. They are very smart, and Nuan said with great interest. Is the amusement park you are talking about over there at Dawang Mountain? Many tourism projects have been developed there. What? Film and television city, ice and snow city, etc. Yes, I originally had these beluga whales in the Hudson Bay, and my mom had some in an enclosed area off West Greenland where she had a secret, a park. These beluga whales serve in amusement parks. After a few years, they will be put back to prevent them from becoming depressed and having a mental breakdown. Zhu Huntang stopped in time. She now has the authority to know most of the secret bases of the leaders of the evil forces in the world. What makes Zhu Huntang feel strange is that many of the properties and real estate owned by his mother have nothing to do with the Zhu family. They have been passed down for a long time. Zhu Huntang often suspects that they are the overseas assets of the old man. He feels guilty for his mother after all. So just send some money. This is the same operation as many men now find out that their girlfriends are pregnant and kindly ask for abortion fees or something before breaking up. Fortunately, my mother was already pregnant when she got together with him. Probably out of affection and apology for the Zhu family, her mother firmly refused to agree to the old man's abortion and gave birth to me anyway. Fortunately, my mother is strong-willed. If she completely becomes a love brain and is dominated by the bad old man, I'm afraid there will be no BAA in this world. No, it should be, because this is the universe. Under the control of the great will of the universe, who can disobey it? If I had not been born, this world would not exist at all. Snort. Zhu Huntang walked forward with his head held high. Beluga whales can also be depressed and have a mental breakdown, and Nuan thought of many beluga whales in zoos. They are basically trapped in small pools for their entire lives. Where can they return to live in groups like Zhu Huntang's beluga whales? Home. Yes, when animals are depressed and have a mental breakdown, they are as angry as when Lu Chang'an often beat me, and they jump like firecrackers. Zhu Huntang is very familiar with this state of animals, and Lu Chang'an often demonstrates performances in front of her. I will perform for you now. Lu Chang'an did not object to Zhu Huntang taking the opportunity to insult, and said to An Nuan with a smile. Seeing the smile on his face, Zhu Huntang hurriedly hid behind An Nuan. Forget it, don't argue with her. Everyone is just joking. If she scolds you, just scold her back. Don't do it. An Nuan quickly persuaded her and hugged Lu Chang'an's arm tightly. Use your broad mind to tolerate his outburst of anger. Come on, let's scold each other. Zhu Huntang was eager to give it a try. And Nuan let out a breath. If she hadn't been in the stage of love where she tried her best to perform in front of her husband's family, she probably wouldn't have stopped Lu Chang'an. Zhu Huntang was really angry to death. Lu Chang'an sneered. Many times when parents beat children, they settle accounts for several things at the same time. Remember it first and beat them together next time. But, Nuan, you seem to be in better shape. When I first met you last year, I thought you looked like a little cow. Zhu Huntang stared at Nuan, who held Lu Chang'an's hand on her chest. Previous action. Ah, where is that? Nuan secretly rejoiced. She had always been in good shape, so Lu Chang'an disliked her. She means, a baby cow is a cow that has not yet grown up. It has no milk and no milking, Lu Chang'an whispered in Nuan's ear to translate, not wanting his girlfriend to be proud of being humiliated by Zhu Huntang. You, Zhu Huntang, next time Lu Chang'an beats you, I will definitely not hold him back. Nuan looked at Zhu Huntang with a smile. Haha, I'm just kidding. Didn't I say you were in the past? I meant to praise you for being different now. Zhu Huntang snapped his fingers. The hunky L5 that had been following them accelerated. After Zhu Huntang got in the car, she called in Nuan and Lu Chang'an, who were standing on the roadside, a few times and asked the driver to drive quickly. She did not want to accompany the two of them from Hedong to Hexi. Ferries occasionally walk around, and there is no problem in being grounded. This is called descending to the earth, but after descending to the earth for a long time, they will become mortals, lose their fairy spirit, and no longer be aloof. Zhu Huntang is really funny and annoying, but this is probably her personality and charm. Nuan let go of Lu Chang'an's arm and just held it loosely. She hadn't strolled with him like this for a long time. I remember that during lunch breaks in high school, I would often walk long distances with him, and we would go around the riverside landscape before returning to school. She still has personality charm. She doesn't even have personality, she only has a sheep personality. Lu Chang'an shook his head. Puff. Walking to Wei Road and about to go to the subway station, Nuan suddenly said ouch. What? Lu Chang'an quickly held Nuan's slender waist and looked down. My feet seem to be sprained. Lu Chang'an bent down to check, but Nuan took the opportunity to lie on Lu Chang'an's back. He, you carry me back to school. Naughty. Lu Chang'an held his two long legs wrapped around his waist with his backhand and walked towards the school. I wish everyone a great Dragon Boat Festival and please vote for me. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 1009. Zhu Huntang did not actively go to the classroom to wait for class, but first came to the downstairs of Bai Hui's studio. These small white buildings were built against the mountains, with a maximum height of only 5 floors. There was no elevator installed. Zhu Huntang didn't want to take the stairs, so two breadmen lifted the aircraft and placed it at her feet. Bai Hui's house is on the 3rd floor. Zhu Huntang is not afraid of such low-altitude flying. You must know that when she was at Nanshan Ranch, she panicked from the upstairs of the resort center. No, just like Lu Chang'an in building 1 of Bailong Center, like the top, he jumped down gracefully. When the aircraft ascended to the balcony on the 2nd floor, a crying little boy saw Zhu Huntang. He couldn't help but froze and stopped crying immediately. Have you forgotten to cry when you saw the fairy? Zhu Huntang did not continue flying up, preparing to tease the little boy. The little boy nodded. Such a beautiful and lovely young lady flew up again. She must be a fairy. Why are you crying here? Are you being beaten? Zhu Huntang looked at the messy potted plants on the balcony and the pruning knife in the little boy's hand. I helped my dad, prune his potted plants, but, he didn't praise me and even beat me, the little boy sobbed. Zhu Huntang couldn't help but think of the day he led the little lamb to eat Lu Chang'an's maidenhair fern. It turns out that if you do this, you will get beaten. But Lu Chang'an didn't hit her. Ha ha ha, I did the same thing today. I asked my sheep to eat my father's potted plants, but he didn't even hit me. Zhu Huntang suddenly felt proud. Your father will beat you, he must be, because you are not his biological child. He must have picked you up on the roadside, or given you as a gift by charging phone bills, or he won the 10th prize in a lottery ticket. Zhu Huntang is not his biological child, but others don't know that. What's more, Lu Chang'an, the stepfather, has obviously made a gesture of seeking a daughter to usurp his mother, and wants to be Mei's biological father. The little boy stared blankly at Zhu Huntang, and soon his mouth expanded into a square shape. Tears burst out at once, and he howled in his throat. He threw away the pruning knife in one hand and ran into the room waving his hands. "Dad, there is a fairy outside, outside. She said you picked me up, picked me up." Zhu Huntang took the opportunity to fly up to the third floor, only to hear voices coming from below. "Where are the fairies?" The fairy flew away." "That's nonsense. Doesn't it hurt if I hit you?" "Ah, there really are fairies." Zhu Huntang fell on the balcony. It turned out that Lu Chang'an still loved him very much. As long as he didn't deliberately make him angry, get into other troubles or do other bad things, he would not care about her. In a very happy mood, Zhu Huntang hummed and walked into the room. He saw the little white pig who had been waving a hoe at the speed of light and was concentrating on retouching a picture, Lu Chang'an's picture. Zhu Huntang walked up to Bai Hui, but Bai Hui didn't even notice her. Bai Hui's eyes reflected Lu Chang'an's appearance on the screen, sparkling, and her eyebrows, eyes, and lips were filled with tenderness. It seemed that the real Lu Chang'an was looking at her. He looked at her, and the cursor she controlled seemed to be replacing her fingers, gently stroking Lu Chang'an's face in the photo. Yeah. Bai Hui didn't notice him for a while, and Zhu Huntang had to shout. "Ah, when did you come?" Bai Hui was surprised and found me. "A big thing happened yesterday." And Nuan ran to Lu Chang'an's house. She first acted in the kitchen, then came to play cards with Dandan, and left very late. Zhu Huntang made a gesture of holding a feather fan and fanned it. "You also did the things she did a while ago, right? This is not a big deal. I was just looking for Dandan to play with, and I didn't mean to show off," Bai Hui said disapprovingly, but because she likes gossip, she stared at Zhu Huntang closely, hoping that she would come back again tell some news. "The key is, I met her and Dandan on the street again this morning. I am very suspicious. She just pretended to leave last night, and then turned around and stayed up all night to have fun with Lu Chang'an. In the morning, she pretended to come back again." Lu Chang'an's appearance. Zhu Huntang snorted. He was stabbed by a gun after returning to the horse in the 36th strategy, how could he not know? Bai Hui's heart ached, and he couldn't help but picture the strong Lu Chang'an in his mind, still being suppressed by the laughing and Nuan, biting his lips and panting. Thinking of this, her cheeks turned red, her heart was beating wildly, she felt uncomfortable but hoped to replace it. This is probably the mentality of many people who like to read Turan articles, right? But Nuan is not very smart. "I have to help you make suggestions and get a bed for you." Zhu Huntang slapped his hand again and frowned. "Why do you always like to use a lot of idioms when you speak despite being uneducated?" Bai Hui said with some confusion. Zhu Huntang often misused idioms indiscriminately, but there was nothing wrong with the few idioms he just said. "Bah! In ancient times, I thought he was like Master Kong. By the way, a woman named Qin Zisi came to Lu Chang'an today. Lu Chang'an said that she was one of the 5 masters of Confucianism." Zhu Huntang almost forgot about this little old man's sister. Bai Hui was almost shocked by Zhu Huntang's self-confidence. Not to mention Zhu Huntang, who could not recognize all the characters in the 9-year compulsory education period, even the masters in the world, no one would say that he was the same as Confucius in ancient times. Ah! How can there be any 5 great masters in Confucianism? This girl's name is just the same as one of the Confucian saints. Lu Chang'an is talking about the 5 Confucian saints. Bai Hui has not forgotten the basic knowledge of Chinese in high school. He is in existence like Confucius to popularize common sense. Martial saint? Is she so powerful? Then I have to be more careful. Zhu Huntang didn't see it. Bai Hui didn't want to explain any more and asked nervously, What is this Qin Zici doing with Lu Chang'an? Her surname is Qin too. Could it be that she is also Lu Chang'an's cousin? Don't worry, if she is full of love for Lu Chang'an, Qin Yinan will be able to handle it. You have to step up your steps now. Think about it, you are similar to a Nuan in high school. You have to cheer up, take the initiative, and spend all day retouching pictures here. Can you make yourself into the shape of Lu Chang'an? Or can you make Lu Chang'an into a shape that suits you? Zhu Huntang said with hatred that iron cannot become steel. Why are you so dirty? Bai Hui dropped the mouse and quickly raised his hands to cover his face. Of course, a big girl understands these dirty hints. Sometimes there are often embarrassing scenes in dreams. In fact, girls are just like boys. Curious and a little longing. No, I just wanted to edit the photos. Where did you want to go? Zhu Huntang looked at Bai Hui in confusion. Bai Hui glanced at Zhu Huntang through the gap between her fingers. Her eyes were as clear as water and her face was pure. Her head slightly stretched forward and her eyes widened. She looked more like a white lotus who was ignorant of the world. They look really alike. Bai Hui was not fooled. Zhu Huntang actually knew everything and was very good at pretending. Ha ha ha, in short, I hope you will be more proactive. Except for the master of the universe like me, most people need to work hard on their own to find those slim opportunities to reach the top of life and realize their dream ideals. Zhu Huntang he stood up and walked to the balcony. I'm going to class. If I skip class today, Lu Chang'an will go crazy. Bai Hui couldn't help but feel a little envious. Lu Chang'an could be said to be extremely vicious towards Zhu Huntang, but he was also extremely concerned about her. Other women, such as Yan Qingcheng, would definitely want Lu Chang'an to control her like this. After delaying at Bai Hui's place for a while, Zhu Huntang mocked the little boy with the scissors again when he flew downstairs. By the time she arrived at the teaching building, Lu Chang'an had already arrived before her. Lu Chang'an was talking to Yan Qingcheng. He was holding some gifts in his hand, including canned lychees, donkey glue blood tonifying granules, and large cans of milk powder. They were all gifts that he often brought when traveling from house to house in the 1980s and 1990s. Yan Qingcheng seemed to have pushed it a few times, and then took it from Lu Chang'an's hand a little shyly. Zhu Huntang saw the scene and secretly exclaimed that he had made a mistake. She originally thought that An Nuan could only be a light bulb when she accompanied Lu Chang'an, and other double-digging Ho gods would not have a chance. Who knew that the reason why the Ho god was a Ho god was that he could fully grasp any crack and start digging. Zhu Huntang was just a little late, and Yan Qingcheng found an opportunity. He is indeed a powerful opponent. Zhu Huntang rushed over and squeezed in to stand between Lu Chang'an and Yan Qingcheng. He opened his hands and pressed their chests to separate them further. What are you doing? Lu Chang'an's eyebrows wrinkled automatically when he saw Zhu Huntang. What are you doing? Zhu Huntang retracted his hands, lifted up his skirt angrily, and put his hands on his hips. Professor Lu asked him to bring me some food, Yan Qingcheng said in a gentle tone. Who can be angry with a child who is trying to make his father only like him? Why don't you bring me something to eat? Zhu Huntang was so angry. He had never brought her anything to eat. After thinking about it carefully, there really is no such thing. Here you go. Lu Chang'an handed another 1,500 jikan of lychees to Zhu Huntang. It just so happened that today she changed. Looking back at Chang'an, there are piles of embroidery, thousands of gates are opening on the top of the mountain, and the concubines riding on the red dust are laughing. No one knows the lychees are coming to something like eating 300 lychees a day, then 3 kilograms will come first. Bar. Zhu Huntang felt his hands sink, and he bent over before raising his hands again and holding them in his arms. She stared blankly at the huge can of lychees. She only likes to eat fresh fruits. She has never eaten such canned food that seems to be cheap and large in quantity, but must be of average quality. Eat it. Lu Chang'an took off the lid of the can again, removed the fork wrapped in plastic film and handed it to Zhu Huntang. I, I, I ate Dong Dong's mother's pork knuckle for lunch, and I can't eat canned fruit now. Zhu Huntang's eyes widened. She discovered that there was suspended solids in this canned fruit. White? Like maggots. I'll eat it later. Can I share some with my classmates in the dormitory? They usually share things with me. Yan Qingcheng asked Lu Chang'an's permission with some embarrassment. Of course. Lu Chang'an nodded. His soft and smooth face made him look really comfortable in comparison. Yan Qingcheng glanced at Zhu Huntang and then entered the classroom with the gift. She's looking at me. Zhu Huntang held a huge can of lychees in one hand, pointed at Yan Qingcheng's back with the other, and complained with eyes wide open. What's wrong with you? Is there a sense of superiority and contempt in her eyes, as well as pride, disdain, arrogance, and uncontrollable laughter? Lu Chang'an remembered that Zhu Huntang came to the high school affiliated to Hunan University to find Lu Chang'an last year. Nuan glanced at her, and that's how she complained to Zhongqing, saying that in Nuan's eyes were an emotional fan chart, and she completely interpreted it. Zhu Huntang nodded vigorously. Of course that was the case, and Yan Qingcheng was still hinting, I am more suitable to be a well-behaved baby girl than you. Lu Chang'an did not read this, but Zhu Huntang had already discovered it. All kinds of requests. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 1010. Lu Chang'an entered the classroom, and Zhu Huntang stood there holding the can, like a fairy holding her pot-shaped magic weapon. She lifted the can and put it down again, and gestured on her chest, feeling that only Qinyanans could compare with this huge can. If you hit someone with this can, their head will bleed. If you hit someone with Qinyanans, their nose will bleed. It is especially effective if you use it to hit Lu Chang'an, which can break his indestructible body. Ha ha ha, thinking of this, Zhu Huntang burst out laughing. His imagination was really interesting. He was worthy of being a peerless beautiful girl, a bleeding princess and a little fairy with a cute appearance, an interesting soul, and a beautiful body. There is no one like me among mortals who is worthy of me, so I never have to worry about the mundane things of love. People like Qinyanan, Anjiran, Baihui, and others are all inferior to me. Of course, I should just think about this in my heart. After all, I am a cunning and insidious person. It is smart to say bad things about others behind their backs. No, Lu Chang'an and Yan Qingcheng disappeared in front of him at the same time. Now is not the time for Yang Yang to be proud, so he can't make any mistakes. What if Yan Qingcheng takes the opportunity to feed lychees to Lu Chang'an, and when he sees this scene, his mentality will explode. The fairy's temperament can no longer be controlled. Zhu Huntang quickly screwed on the lid, took a small plastic fork, and trotted into the classroom. She didn't bother to let the bread man hold the big can for her and stood at the door of the classroom. Canned food was a very rare item in an era of material scarcity. Many children in rural families may not have tasted it since they were young. Even now, the more old-fashioned people in northeast China still like to carry cans when visiting relatives and friends to see patients. On the other hand, in the south, there are more fresh fruits all year round and fewer people eat them. Yan Qingcheng entered the classroom carrying cans and large and small bags. No one found it strange. However, they saw Zhu Huntang holding a can bigger than her head, which attracted the attention of many classmates. Suddenly, they discovered that Zhu Huntang had a round head and a very small face, delicate and beautiful. I have one too. Zhu Huntang held up his can to show off, muttering in his heart, Lu Chang'an not only bought cans for Yan Qingcheng, she also got some. Seeing Zhu Huntang walking towards the back row holding the can, Tong 11 was sure that Zhu Huntang would not sit with Yan Qingcheng, So she knocked on the table and signaled to Yan Qingcheng that he would help her occupy a seat. "Have you done your homework in last class?" Tong 11 asked casually. "Huh, I just finished it this morning. I've been a little busy lately, but I have to do my homework in Yan Qingcheng's world. Homework is a top priority and cannot be delayed under any circumstances. I just did whatever I wanted, he. I answered an advertisement for my boss, and she said she would give me a bonus. I was so bloated that I didn't want to do my homework anymore." Tong 11's boss is very particular about people. As long as he helps her with the work, there are bonuses other than salary. Yan Qingcheng smiled and placed the large and small bags in her hands between herself and Tong 11. "Hey, you and Zhu Huntang each have this big can. Such big cans are rare, and they are placed between the two of them, so they can be seen at a glance. Lu Chang'an bought two for me, but they were too big and I couldn't carry them, so he only wanted one. He happened to meet Zhu Huntang, so he gave the other one to Zhu Huntang." Yan Qingcheng accurately described it, indicating that the situation is slightly different from what Tong 11 said. Tong 11 opened his own bottle of Lijiangyi green tea and took a sip. After tidying up the desk and textbooks, Yan Qingcheng looked back and saw Zhu Huntang feeding Lu Chang'an lychees with a plastic fork. Just after feeding one or two, she secretly formed a ball with a paper towel, dipped it in the water in the can, and it looked like lychees in the can, and then fed it into the mouth of Lu Chang'an, who was concentrating on reading. Yan Qingcheng shook her head and looked no further. The consequences for Zhu Huntang could be imagined. The tissue ball would probably end up in her own stomach. So cute and well behaved, she is really Professor Liu's good daughter. After class in the afternoon, Lu Chang'an sent Zhu Huntang, who was struggling desperately, to prepare for extra lessons in the evening. Of course, it was useless to cry and fight while he was being escorted. After arriving at Bai, Zhu Huntang lay on the ground rolling and kicking his feet, but he did not receive any mercy. Yan Qingcheng took her things back to the dormitory, and after dinner, she would give her classes between 6 and 8 o'clock. Professor Liu's classes were scheduled from 8:30 to 10 o'clock. If she hadn't threatened to eat 1,500 g of paper towel balls soaked in lychee sugar water if she skipped class, Lu Chang'an suspected that as soon as he left, she would find a way to escape. After all, she had been in class all afternoon and had 3.5 hours of class in the evening. For Zhu Huntang, it was tantamount to torture. However, Lu Chang'an suspected that Yan Qingcheng had a solid class during those 2 hours. Professor Liu's class might have been a bit watery. After all, last time Professor Liu and Professor Ling were designed by Zhu Huntang to be chopped down by cattle herders in myths and legends. Chai young man picks up clothes of fairy. In other words, even if Professor Ling is invited to suppress Zhu Huntang, it will be of no use. Don't worry about not being able to hire Professor Ling and pay him with money. She may not be tempted, but Lu Chang'an has something that can make her tempted and want to get it at any cost. In fact, it is best to let Qin Yinan take care of Zhu Huntang, but Qin Yinan is always worried that Zhu Huntang's radiation will contaminate Lu Changqian, let alone when the radiation is strong when Zhu Huntang is in class. The most important thing is that Qin Yinan now considers herself a stepmother. She may think that Lu Chang'an is too partial, cares and values Zhu Huntang too much, and then feels unfair for her Lu Changqian. Then Lu Chang'an will have to work hard to coax her. Hey, forget it, the mother sheep will be back soon anyway, and it will be easier for the mother to spank her children. Lu Chang'an returned to the neighborhood and saw Zhou Dongdong unfolding a snakeskin bag as if offering a treasure, looking at an old man collecting scraps with shining eyes. This is worthless, this is useless. The old man frowned and carefully put all the scraps that could be sold into his tricycle. Seeing that the scraps of his snakeskin bag were worthless and useless, Zhou Dongdong slowly lowered his head, and there was no light in his eyes. It's almost a dime. You see, I'd better wait until you pick up 10, 100 snakeskin bags, and I'll give you $1, the old man said with a smile. Then, have I saved enough money from scrap metal and cardboard? Not yet, that is calculated separately. Scrap and scrap iron cannot be added together, the old man waved his hand. I won't sell it to you anymore. Joe Dong Dong inserted the iron pliers into his skull bag, turned around and left while holding the snakeskin bag. Joe Dong Dong has never met his own grandfather, but the grandfathers of other children on TV are all very good to children, so Joe Dong Dong always believes that he will give him money, but even though he is a stupid child, now I feel a bit cheated. A big hand placed on Joe Dong Dong's head and gently stroked her hair. It was a familiar and warm feeling. Joe Dong Dong raised his head and saw Brother Chang'an with his back to the sun, that tall and big figure, as if he could support and protect him even if the sky fell, shrouded the round Joe Dong Dong. Since you don't want to pay, just return all the plastic bottles you just took away. Lu Chang'an held the snakeskin bag and looked coldly at the old man collecting the waste. I helped her save it, the old man insisted. Have you saved enough coffin books? What do you mean? If you don't retreat, I will let your coffin be used today. Lu Chang'an put a snakeskin bag on Joe Dong Dong's head, and then reached out and grabbed the old man's shoulder. The pain like cracking bones came, especially the fierce look in the young man's eyes, which made people shiver. He had no intention of respecting or caring for the old man at all, and the aura emanating from his body was so oppressive that his body was weak and his legs were sore. If he hadn't grabbed his shoulder, I might have been so frightened that I would have knelt down. I retreat, I retreat. The old man said quickly. And I don't want you to return her old waste products. Is it enough for $1? Enough, enough. Lu Chang'an took off the snakeskin bag, and Joe Dong Dong stood motionless just now, thinking about whether he had become the snakeskin bag general now. Putting all the bottles he had just taken back into the snakeskin bag, taking out another $1, the old man hurriedly stepped on a tricycle and ran away. From now on, if you pick up a scrap snakeskin bag, sell it to me. Don't sell it to anyone else. Lu Chang'an handed the snakeskin bag and $1 to Joe Dong Dong. Got it. Joe Dong Dong raised the snakeskin bag in one hand and $1 in the other and looked at Brother Chang'an. Brother Chang'an seemed to be shining brightly, making Joe Dong Dong's eyes sparkle. The two people walked into the community. When he walked to Aunt Xie's canteen, Joe Dong Dong, holding $1 high, walked in automatically, but was caught by Lu Chang'an. Aren't you going to save money to buy a garbage truck? Lu Chang'an expressed doubts. Joe Dong Dong only explained her purpose of bringing the snakeskin bag and iron pliers to school in the morning. I have to save money to buy a garbage truck, so my dollar can't be used at the canteen. Joe Dong Dong was shocked. There was such a reason. Never thought about it at all. Lu Chang'an couldn't understand her shock, and he didn't intend to ask. You spend the little money you earn, how many years and months will it take to save enough money? Now that you have goals and ideals, no matter whether they can be realized in the end, at the beginning you have to work hard in that direction. Does that mean I can only enter the canteen tomorrow? Joe Dong Dong didn't understand very well. Brother Chang'an always likes to say things that children can't understand. I took away your waste products today and I'll give you $1. When you save $12, you can go to the canteen and spend $2. Lu Chang'an took her home and rummaged around. Find $1 and give it to her. Got it. Joe Dong Dong held 2 yuan in his hand, looking forward to the day when he could save 12 yuan to go to the canteen. Lu Chang'an also nodded with satisfaction. He is still very good at teaching children. Zhu Huntang is completely an exception. It is her own problem. Ordinary people cannot tame sheep. Everyone can understand it, right? All kinds of requests. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 1011. I was just playing cards in the canteen and saw you and Dong Dong coming back. I thought I should cook for you at this time, so I went back. Shang Guan stepped into the door of his house carelessly. While talking, he walked to the kitchen, only to find that Zhou Shuling, who should be in the kitchen at this point, was not there at all. Just come back and take a look. See, the faucet is not receiving water, please get some water. Shang Guandandan bravely walked into the kitchen, placed a basin under the faucet, adjusted it carefully and came out without talking about cooking. Zhou Shuling accompanied Li Hongfang to take photos. Lu Chang'an was used to the hard-working Queen Mother's various behaviors. He had no feelings, no intention of ridicule, and no objection. Xiaoling and Fang Fang went to take pictures. I heard that when people take pictures, they all need makeup. I wonder how good the people who help them with makeup are, Shang Guandandan asked worriedly. Oh, they are not filming a female version of Monkey King or some other strange character. They don't need your help, Lu Chang'an explained. Shang Guandandan was very angry, so he moved a chair and climbed up, took out the eyebrow pencil from his sleeve pocket, and was about to draw a mustache on Lu Chang'an to prove his makeup skills. Of course Lu Chang'an avoided it. Zhou Dongdong actively offered to put makeup on her, so Shang Guandandan drew 2 circles of mustache on her lips. What are you having for dinner tonight? It's time to solve this Goldbachus conjecture in daily life again. Lu Chang'an looked at Zhou Dongdong and Shang Guandandan. These two eat almost everything. As long as they don't have to pay, they won't be picky at all. Barbecue, hot pot, stewed pot, fragrant pot, Hunan cuisine, Cantonese cuisine, Hangzhou cuisine, Northeastern cuisine, buffet, braised, pickled, steamed vegetables, seafood, preserved meat. Lu Chang'an thought about it and rummaged through the refrigerator again. When you can only think about eating enough, it is actually the simplest thing to think about, how much money you have in your pocket, how to save money and how to eat. When you regard eating as a kind of enjoyment, it is the most difficult choice. After all, even if you have enough money in your pocket, your appetite is limited. Even the 3 giants under the sycamore tree will gradually lose their enjoyment of food as their stomachs are slowly filled. The phone rang, it was Bai Fen. Xiao Tang sent me a message, saying that Sister Zhou went out today. Dandan and Dongdong had no place to eat at night. I wanted to treat them to beef. Bai Hui just cared about Shang Guandantan and Zhou Dongdong. After all, they look like weak and helpless little animals that are very edible and must be taken care of. As for Lu Chang'an, of course he didn't need anyone to care about his dinner, and he probably wouldn't be so sentimental. He felt that Bai Hui was taking care of Shang Guandandan and Zhou Dongdong, but actually wanted to treat him to dinner. What does putting the question mean? Lu Chang'an asked. It's just an a la carte buffet. Forget it, this so-called buffet is too petty, and it's embarrassing for customers to order frequently. This is actually a Japanese buffet that is more popular now, and it is not in line with the noble temperament of Lu Chang'an and the others. Okay, can I switch to another restaurant? Bai Hui wanted to treat the 2 cuties to a meal, but had to face the picky and troublesome Lu Chang'an and swallowed his anger. Okay. In fact, they are not picky. Should you pick them up, or should I drop them off? Well, the main thing is that I'm busy with something right now. Please send it to me. I'll send you the address later. You must not have eaten either. Let's eat together. If it's a self-service barbecue or something like that, you'll definitely cook better. We bake it ourselves and it tastes delicious. Bai Hui also made an impromptu decision and didn't think much about it. After thinking about it for a while, he remembered that Lu Chang'an's barbecue skills were extremely high. What's more, only inviting Shang Guandandan and Zhou Dongdong, but not Lu Chang'an who sent them over, this is really bad, generally, except Lu Chang'an, who can do such a thing. That's right. It's a complete waste of ingredients for you to bake them. I was wondering what to bring them to eat tonight, so you called me. As expected of me, I'll see you soon. After Lu Chang'an finished speaking, he hung up the phone. Waiting for Bai Hui to send the address in a while. It seemed that Lu Chang'an called her Anixi for the first time. Bai Hui looked at the phone screen sweetly, and suddenly felt that something was wrong. Based on his context, Lu Chang'an, this annoying guy, must mean roundworm. Okay, when you have barbecue later, you can take revenge on him by talking loudly about grilling pork. Bai Hui selected one of the 10 pre-selected restaurants that specializes in charcoal grilled beef, and then sent him the address and time. Of course she still has things to do, and her makeup is almost done, but tonight's lip color must take into account the food and the lighting environment of the store. How can she look particularly good looking and attract Dan Dan's attention to communicate with her? What about makeup skills? If Lu Chang'an also looks at her twice, it just means that she looks particularly good tonight, but it won't make people excited. Lu Chang'an received the address and appointment time from Bai Hui, and felt good. Sure enough, when he didn't know what to eat, eating beef would not be a bad choice after all. The only pity is that there is generally no beef offal available in places like this. Nowadays, there are also places specializing in beef offal, and the prices are not cheap. In those days, the raw material of beef offal was the leftovers after slaughtering cattle, which was used by poor people to supplement nutrition. At the end of the last century, Lu Chang'an remembered that fresh beef offal only cost 40 cents per pound, and the price could be doubled after it was made into cooked food. More than 10 times the price, a skewer of grilled tripe can be sold for 2 pieces. I still miss the beef offal stalls in southern Guangdong. Many places in southern Hunan like to add mountain pepper oil when making beef offal. This flavor is too strong and is a failure for those who like the original taste of ingredients. It's just that when you travel to Nanya for food and entertainment, it's hard to eat fresh beef offal cut with big scissors. Like other places, most beef offal in Nanya is also wholesale frozen goods. You can just defrost and clean it. They may not be careful, but just pour it into the big pot one by one, and it doesn't have the same taste at all. If tourists want to eat the authentic and good taste recommended by locals, they still need to do some homework, otherwise, they will be disappointed and feel that the famous food is not as good as the fresh food. What a jaguar thing. Today we will eat charcoal grilled beef and make offal another day. Lu Chang'an thought about it for a while. The key is that fresh offal is hard to come by. Beef offal nowadays is not as rare as it was back then. You must know that in many places where eating offal is not popular, many people have never seen beef heart, lungs, kidneys, and intestines being sold fresh. Many stalls that sell beef usually only have a leg of beef, plus some beef ribs, deboned meat, etc. for sale. Where the whole cow is actually slaughtered, the offal has already been ordered by others. So Lu Chang'an sent a message to Qin Yinan, asking her to help find some fresh offal. After all, she could even roast a camel. Let's go, your card friend Hui Hui treats us to charcoal roast beef, Lu Chang'an said to Shang Guandandan and Zhou Dongdong, who were standing in front of the TV. Do you have that kind of white beef? It sizzles with oil when roasted, and is very tender. It tastes like biting into a juicy and tender piece of meat when drinking hot soup, Shang Guandandan said expectantly. There must be some. Lu Chang'an knew that she was talking about snowflake beef. The beef that Brother Chang'an cooked on a brazier on skewers last time was also very delicious, Zhou Dongdong said with some aftertaste. That time, Brother Chang'an smashed a pot and asked Zhou Dongdong to take the iron pieces that fell. After changing the money, she patted her small pocket, which contained the 2 yuan she earned today. Let's eat less today. Hui is not as rich as other daughters-in-law. Like me, she is a little girl who needs to work hard every day to make some money, Shang Guandandan said with great pity. Give her back the 10,000 yuan you defrauded her of last time. Could Lu Chang'an not seize the opportunity to remonstrate? Is there such a thing? Shang Guandandan took 2 steps back, opened his mouth in confusion, and then took out his sleeve pocket. There was no 10,000 yuan in it. Please begin your performance. You know, everyone hates the clone flow when reading novels. Some readers even have PTSD stress reactions. They feel uncomfortable when they see the clone, because the clone often does bad things. Shang Guandandan thought about it carefully. Is it possible that the person who did this was a clone of me? In fact, it has nothing to do with me. Things like PTSD and clones are often seen in novels, and she can be considered as applying what she has learned. Lu Chang'an nodded appreciatively. You have made rapid progress in sophistry. Before, you just touched your ears and pretended not to hear, but now you just use them. Now that the theory of doppelganger has emerged, will we have to use parallel universes, time and space retrieval, etc. to explain it next time? Shang Guandandan couldn't help but touch his soft ears again. Anyway, he had explained it, so the matter was over, and the Queen Mother could no longer hear all the noise about it. By the way, Hui Hui also wants to be a princess, but the princess really can't be canonized casually, because Hui Hui will probably become a daughter-in-law in the future, so she should accept Hui Hui as her goddaughter first. If Hui Hui becomes a daughter-in-law in the future, she can be given the title of Jade Seal. If she cannot become a daughter-in-law, she can only continue to be the Queen Mother's goddaughter, and it is not too late to make her a princess as compensation. As expected of a Queen Mother who was good at managing the affairs of the harem, Shang Guan walked a few steps with his head held high, nodding and praising himself. Lu Chang'an didn't know what she was thinking, and he didn't talk about the 10,000 yuan thing again. Fortunately, since then, Shang Guandandan has not gone out to engage in pyramid schemes and psychology, and has not embarked on the road of telecommunications fraud for the time being. Come on, let's ride an electric bike there. Electric pony carriage. Diddy. Dee. Lu Chang'an picked up the remote control and saw news about the F-35 fighter jets of Bangguo being played on the TV, but the news picture showed F-22 doing maneuvers. When he was confused, he suddenly realized that 22 equal 35 in Bangguo, and he couldn't help but suddenly realized. Turn off the TV. All kinds of requests. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 1012. The evening breeze was slightly cool, so Lu Chang'an took the red water scoop hat knitted by Zhou Shuling and put it on Zhou Dongdong, and tied a scarf on Shang Guandandan. The two little people have already taken their seats on the electric car. Zhou Dongdong puts his hands in his sleeves and stands on the footrest. Shang Guandandan carries a thermos bottle on his shoulders and sits on the tip of the seat, mouthing non-stop. Diddy screamed randomly. You still haven't learned how to ride an electric bike, but the screams are getting more and more similar to each other. They can be mistaken for the real ones. Lu Chang'an endured the girl's screams, as sharp as a skylark, and sincerely praised her for her good screams. When she was upstairs just now, she should have been thrown at her with small stones. Shang Guandandan only needed him to praise her for being smart, capable, thrifty, and a queen mother who knew how to live a good life. Shang Guandandan didn't pay much attention to other compliments and turned a deaf ear. It's a bit dangerous to ride an electric bike. The cars on the street are driving back and forth to scare me, so I don't dare to ride one. Shang Guandandan reluctantly explained why he had not learned to ride an electric bike. Think about the time when the Queen Mother's little carriage was running around the Viang Palace. Even in the entire Chang'an city, it was unobstructed. Except for the wall in front of it, where were the pedestrians, carriages, and horses who dared to hinder it at all? Today's driving environment is completely different. There are strange things like traffic lights on the road. Isn't it natural that the Queen Mother does not dare to ride an electric pony carriage? When Lu Chang'an got on the electric car and held the handle, Shang Guandandan put his hands on the back of his hands. Diddy. It's the same when I drive like this. Lu Chang'an pushed his feet to let the electric car slide and then twisted the handle to accelerate. This could save a little bit of electricity. Is it true that if we run out of power halfway, you can pedal back like this? Shang Guandandan asked curiously. Of course, but Lu Chang'an didn't want to respond to her question. I won't charge the battery anymore. Just take us on an electric pony carriage like this. The frugal Queen Mother found a new idea to live smartly. Then is this still called an electric pony car? Little dragon car. How about you turn into a little flamingo and fly in front of us, dragging us along, and call us Phoenix Chariot? Lu Chang'an thought of the word dragon chariot and phoenix chariot. I won't turn into a little firebird. I'm just a queen mother who doesn't have much strength, can't run fast, and can't fly. Shang Guandandan leaned in Lu Chang'an's arms and looked back warily. She had to be careful about what he said casually. It turned into putting it into practice and framed the queen mother to pull the cart for him. The scarf was wrapped around her neck and tangled with her hair. Her whole body felt soft and soft. Her ears were exposed and turned pink and tender in the evening breeze. The beautiful girl had a serious and alert expression, thinking about it. Not knowing what was on his mind, Lu Chang'an tapped his chin on the top of her head after taking a look at the clear and quiet eyes that seemed to reflect the starry sky in the lake. Her hair was soft and fragrant. She was such a beautiful girl, but she was also a terrible little old lady. Shang Guandantan's cheeks bulged, he raised his head vigorously, twisted his neck this way and that, and yelled "yeah yeah" twice. Unable to get rid of Lu Chang'an's head, he followed suit and placed his chin on Zhou Dongdong's head. Originally, it was quite a beautiful scene when they just did it by themselves, but now the three people's heads were smashed together, looking a bit stupid, so Lu Chang'an quickly moved away. When he encountered a traffic light ahead, Lu Chang'an pulled over and saw Qin Zici sitting in a public security department car next to him. Lu Chang'an nodded towards her to show friendship. Qin Zici couldn't help but was stunned for a moment, and then nodded, but it was dark at this time, and there was a wide green belt between the motor vehicle lane and the non-motor vehicle lane. She was in the rightmost lane, and they were tens of meters apart. I recognized her at a casual glance. Qin Zici didn't just discover Lu Chang'an. In fact, she followed Lu Chang'an's electric car for several hundred meters and kept staring at him, so she felt that he was nodding to her for the first time. Everyone was heading to Hexi. Lu Chang'an suspected that Qin Zici was going to investigate near the Women's Health Club. The charcoal barbecue beef restaurant he was going to was in another direction. After passing the traffic light, everyone went their separate ways. Shang Guandandan suddenly sang Zhou Huajian's song, "The heart of the flower is hidden in the stamen, and the flowering period is missed in vain. Your heart forgets the season, and it is never easy for others to understand. Why don't you hold my hand?" Lu Chang'an knew that she was obviously singing to mock him, because the song was called Hua Xian. That's your beloved daughter-in-law Yaya's sister. She came to visit you at home this morning when you were distributing flyers, Lu Chang'an explained, lest she turn such a small gesture of nodding between Lu Chang'an and Qin Zici into a script. Show it to her goddaughter and daughter-in-law. You're pretty good, have a good figure, and a good height, but I don't know if it's good for childbearing. But you have to exercise restraint. After all, Xiao Zhongqing and Fang Fang are still waiting in line, and we can't give them the qualifications to wait in line. Shang Guandandan a serious reminder. Bai Fen was pushed forward from the queue by her? Lu Chang'an was a little wary. Since Bai Hui was moved forward from the queue by her, it meant that she had regarded Bai Hui as her daughter-in-law. Then she might help Bai Hui and plan Lu Chang'an's actions, so she had to be careful. Lu Chang'an stopped answering her words. As for what she said about not giving her the qualifications to queue up, she should say this to herself: once Qin Zici gives her some benefits, Shang Guandandan will forget what he said today, and then the queue will become something like Xiao Zhongqing, Fang Fang and Zici. When Lu Chang'an mentioned what she said today, she would probably touch her ears and pretend not to hear what Lu Chang'an said. Of course, no matter how she takes in her daughter-in-law or queues up, it is only her business and does not represent Lu Chang'an's wishes at all. Are we going to have to queue up to eat later? Zhou Dongdong touched his belly worriedly. It was no longer round, so he had to put some delicious food in it quickly. No, only disaster victims and beggars queue up for alms. Look at the long queues in front of the stores now. They are all beggars. They look like they have never eaten in their previous lives. Shang Guandandan pointed to an internet celebrity shop on the street. The people queuing up in front drew conclusions based on their ancient and modern experiences. Lu Chang'an nodded in admiration. The Queen Mother had great insights. Riding slowly, chatting, we arrived soon. This is a building similar to Yongding Tulu. The circular 3-story Tulu on the outer circle is a huge hot pot city. The inner circle is the Carbon Fire barbecue beef restaurant that is the destination of the strip. There is also a private restaurant on the innermost floor. This is the first time Lu Chang'an has seen such earth buildings in Juncha. The well-known concentration of earth buildings is in southern Fujian. It is said that it has been photographed by spy satellites and is considered to be a mysterious flying object or military facility, attracting many intelligence agents to spy on it. Such earth buildings can indeed be used for certain military purposes, and the people who live in them have closer relationships than the neighbors who gather in ordinary villages. There seemed to be a popular cartoon the year before last, which once again attracted attention to the Tulu and brought more income to the locals, which was a good thing. As for that cartoon, Lu Chang'an didn't bother to watch it. People who are engaged in film and television literature creation should just tell stories and be creative. Don't think about incorporating any ideology, you are not worthy. You are a great working people who have received the art of slaying dragons and ideological and political education in the compulsory education stage. Most people are simply not qualified to talk about thoughts, reflections, and depth in front of us. Lu Chang'an found a place to park, and Shang Guandandan immediately took out the big lock from under the seat cushion, locked it carefully, and finally hung up a small plastic lock. This is Shang Guandandan's most important fixed asset. It is more expensive than a vending machine and must not be stolen. I think our Han dynasty has a vast territory, but no emperor can patrol the world. One day, I will ride this electric carriage to see the ends of the world, the southeast, the northwest, and the northwest on behalf of all the heroes of the Han dynasty, Shang Guandandan said enthusiastically. This electric pony car of yours has a range of only 100 kilometers, Lu Chang'an kindly reminded her, lest the Queen Mother had just started to tour the world and the electric pony car ran to Laodi, Liaoyang, Hongyang and other places without electricity, so she could only push the electric pony car. Walked back. Actually, there is no need to remind her. Anyway, if she encounters the situation, her gang of goddaughters and daughters-in-law will try their best to get the stupid Queen Mother and the electric pony car without electricity back. What does that matter? I want to tour the world, so naturally I have to take you with me. Without you to follow me, I don't dare to go anywhere. Shang Guandandan insisted on going his own way and didn't seem to listen to the advice at all. So, your plan is to keep me pedaling away when the battery runs out. Good plan. Do you think I'm your donkey? Little dragon car. Pull it yourself. Lusin and I will pull it together. Zhou Dongdong always volunteered for this kind of thing. As for the incident when the sheep dung ball overturned and was flooded, he had long forgotten it. You're here, why are you standing here all the time? Bai Hui saw them standing there chatting at the gate, so he had to come over and call someone. Lu Chang'an then took their little hands and walked towards Bai Hui. Bai Hui is not wearing the fairy's standard low skirt today. The upper body is a folded peony dark floral gauze short jacket, the lower body is a wisteria gray lion playing ball, crane, and hibiscus woven gold gauze skirt. Two double ponytails are tied in front of the body, and she is wearing a pair of black patent leather silk flowered leather shoes were gorgeous and cute, and she was carrying an Hermes bag that she had never used on campus. When she walked over, the hem of her gold woven gauze skirt swayed in a dazzling way, and she felt like a rich woman. She attracted envious looks and comments from many young ladies who were hanging out. Hui, your clothes seem to be the same as Xiaotang's. You two took photos together, right? Shang Guandandan said, holding Bai Hui's hand. Yes, Bai Hui couldn't help jumping up and down when she saw the admiration in Shang Guandandan's eyes. She also glanced at Lu Chang'an, wondering if he remembered anything. The last time she wore this kind of hanfu made from the Ming dynasty was when he went to her studio that day. She changed into a set like this, which combined with the Fi'eo suit he wore created the sense of a Ming dynasty official lady and a royal guard. That day was also the first time that I took the initiative to confess my love, and he didn't accept it. In addition, it had been a long time and both parties had probably forgotten about it, so it could be treated as if it didn't happen, and everyone didn't need to feel embarrassed. Just pretend that nothing happened. Not to mention anything else about the Ming dynasty, the hanfu made in the Ming dynasty is really beautiful. Lu Chang'an also nodded in praise. The traditional costumes of other dynasties are really not as suitable for daily wear as the hanfu made in the Ming dynasty. It is also suitable for attending some exquisite and high-end occasions. Very eye-catching and harmonious. Nowadays, many girls do choose well-made high-end Ming dynasty hanfu for formal occasions. Bai Hui quickly turned around in circles to show him, because the effect of turning around in this set of clothes was particularly good. The gorgeous and thick skirt floated up, and then exposed the beautiful girl's slender and light legs. The contrast was particularly tempting. Just like when she was wearing a high school girl's uniform, she would do the skirt jump action to show him. Beautiful, Lu Chang'an commented. Bai Hui stopped holding the hem of her skirt, glared at him, and pulled Shang Guandandan and Zhou Dongdong in to eat their meat. Thank you everyone for your generous rewards. I didn't expect the support from all the bosses to this day. Of course, Xiahua is also very clear-headed. What everyone supports is actually the book and the cute characters in the book. It has nothing to do with Xiahua. Xiahua just kidnapped the book and the characters to benefit. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 1013. There is no lobby here. They are all spacious small rooms. The windows near the outside are made of transparent glass. You can see people in the outer circle eating hot pot lively, and the world is filled with smoke and fire. Just as he walked to the door of the private room reserved by Bai Hui, a few girls walked out next to him, and they immediately stared at Bai Hui. Looks familiar. Anisi. You are Anisi. They quickly recognized Bai Hui. Yes, Bai Hui admitted openly and glanced at Lu Chang'an again. Back then, his An Nuan had many fans, which made people envious and jealous. Today, Bai Hui also has millions of fans and often walks on the street. Someone recognized it? Can we take a photo together? I can connect your videos with 3 clicks. Okay. Anisi, you look better in person than in the video. I didn't expect you to be so tall, and you are so well dressed. Yes, especially the video of dancing on the lake. It feels like the photographer has a grudge against you, and you were dwarfed in several shots. Bai Hui couldn't help but glance at Lu Chang'an again. It was a video taken on the lake at Gao Dui's house. The vengeful photographer was glaring at the young lady who belittled his technical level. The girls took photos with Bai Hui and then dispersed. Shang Guandandan and Zhou Dongdong had already ran into the room. Lu Chang'an was a polite person and was waiting beside him to go in with Bai Hui. Is it possible that while we are eating, there are always people running in to ask for autographs and photos? Lu Chang'an said worriedly. Of course, you have to concentrate on eating as much as possible. Frequent interruptions will affect your enjoyment of the food. Disgusting. Bai Hui is self-aware. She is not that famous yet. The most important thing is that only those fans who like to follow jiggies are so unqualified. Shang Guandandan and Zhou Dongdong were already sitting in a row, and Bai Hui had no choice but to sit in a row with Lu Chang'an. He remembered that when watching dramas on the film and television app, two older lovers often used to play with their younger brothers and sisters. Someone posted a comment saying, "It feels like a family of three. When I, Lu Chang'an, and Shang Guandandan and Zhou Dongdong are seen, will others say, it feels like a family of four?" However, this is just an objective way of trying to figure out the feelings of bystanders. It's not that I really yearn for such a feeling. After all, I and Lu Chang'an are not lovers at all. If others feel like this, I can't control it. Dongdong, can you order? Shang Guandandan said to Zhou Dongdong, who was staring at the menu seriously. I can look at pictures. Order whatever you want to eat. Zhou Dongdong reached out and grabbed the pictures on the menu. You can scan the code to order. Lu Chang'an pointed to the QR code. Shang Guandandan hesitated for a moment and did not scan the QR code. The Queen Mother, who is well versed in modern social life, knew very well that after completing the order by scanning the QR code, a checkout option would appear. Just looking at these two, the Queen Mother felt heartbroken at the words. She didn't want to scan the QR code, nor did she want to order. Bai Hui scanned the QR code and handed the ordering interface on her phone to Shang Guandandan. I like Bai Fen the most. Shang Guan looked at Bai Fen with a smile, the corners of his lips and eyebrows were curved, he tilted his head, his fingers slid around on the phone, and then he looked at the picture above with pleasure. The Queen Mother's financial strength could not afford all kinds of delicacies. Bai Hui held her face in her hands and stamped her feet under the table. She was also very happy. It was not because she could become her daughter-in-law with Shang Guandandan's approval. The main reason was that girls would be attracted to girls. Seeing Shang Guandandan's cute appearance is so sweet that it makes other people's hearts melt. Lu Chang'an did not remind Bai Hui that Shang Guandandan would say favorite whenever he was happy. Shang Guandandan asked Zhou Dongdong to order first. Zhou Dongdong flipped through the menu, scratched the pattern on the menu with his round fingers, and then put it on the phone screen and released it. Shang Guandandan looked for the corresponding one of ingredients added to the shopping cart. I saw you and your cousin eating hot pot mutton last time, and I want to eat it too. The weather will get warmer in a while, and it will be a bit boring to eat hot pot mutton again. Bai Hui felt that he hadn't seen Lu Chang'an in a few days, and there is a little alienation between individuals, and some gossip can be used to adjust it. You are wrong. Summer is the season when you should eat boiled mutton. It can increase yang and eliminate cold. Lu Chang'an shook his head in opposition. Real? Of course it's true. In the summer, the pores expand, and it's easy to keep out the cold. After the summer, the autumn wind blows, and the old cold has not gone away, and the new cold comes again. Fighting off the cold is half the result. Especially you girls, you must pay attention to keeping out the cold in summer. Eat less cold drinks. Lu Chang'an never needs to care about this, but he has the corresponding common sense to understand. So that's it? Then I'll treat you to hot-boiled mutton next time, so we can get rid of the cold together, Bai Hui said casually. I don't need to ward off the cold, but who doesn't like to eat boiled mutton, as long as it's a treat from an acquaintance, Lu Chang'an usually won't refuse. This is something he agreed with Shang Guandandan and Zhou Dongdong. Bai Fen didn't say anything more. It was very common for everyone to make an appointment for the next time during social activities. Lu Chang'an took disposable protective clothing and put them on Zhou Dongdong and Shang Guandandan. Children often get their clothes stained by oil smoke when eating on such occasions. Bai Fen put it on herself to avoid smelling like barbecue and not being fragrant later. Instead of letting the waiter assigned in the store be responsible for the barbecue, Lu Chang'an prepared a sweet dipping sauce for Shang Guandandan, prepared 3 bowls of sauce for Zhou Dongdong, and then asked Bai Fen, "What flavor do you want?" Looking at the tall Lu Chang'an standing next to him, with his sleeves rolled up and 2 empty dishes in his hands, even though he was wearing a disposable protective clothing, he still gave people a gentle and elegant feeling. I knew clearly that the temperament he showed was a bit, it's a lie, but it still makes people's hearts beat. I want, the taste of love, Bai Hui said jokingly. She once contradicted him. What kind of joke was this? Lu Chang'an nodded and went to the condiment table. Bai Hui was stunned for a moment. She didn't know what she meant, so what would he understand? Tonight Xiao Tang has to go to class late and has no time to cause trouble. Xiao Ling and Fang Fang went to take pictures. There are also guests at Yaya's house. Xiao Zhongqing is busy trying on sexy underwear and filming videos. Nuan also went home. Lu Chang'an, today you are destined to have nothing to do at night, so you have to seize the opportunity, Shang Guandandan reminded Bai Hui earnestly while stroking Zhou Dongdong's belly and knocking on the table. Ah, what? Bai Hui's cheeks were flushed red by the charcoal brazier in the center of the table, and he quickly changed the subject in a panic. How did Dandan know that my cousin was filming that kind of video? She bought the wrong clothes. She bought a popular piece of clothing as sexy underwear. After wearing it, she felt something was wrong. She sent me a video to watch and asked me to help judge whether it was ancient underwear or something. Shang Guandandan took out his mobile phone and showed Bai Hui a video. Bai Hui was startled. What is her cousin doing? You, a woman who doesn't have a boyfriend and probably doesn't have any romantic partners, do these things and make videos. What do you want? Although as a girl, choosing exquisite and comfortable underwear is often just to treat yourself well, but I always feel that my cousin's purpose is not so simple. Shang Guandandan only gave Bai Hui a glance, but Bai Hui still saw that there were some clothes suitable for outdoor activities on the sofa in the video. Reservation will only get you a puppy boy who moans and flicks his tongue. When faced with a man like Lu Chang'an, you have to scream and pounce on him with your tongue flicking out. Shang Guandandan thought of Lu Sin. Lu Sin moaned like this. Yelling and licking with his tongue, he got a master like Lu Chang'an, and got rid of the fate of being food. He joined the Zhu Fenglai sword sect and became the protector of the saintess with Zhu Huntang. In order to maintain Bai Hui's self-esteem, Shang Guandandan did not ask her to learn from Lu Sin. But Bai Hui still felt a little bit hurt in her pride and looked at Shang Guandandan with grievance, because she imagined the scene of herself screaming ouch and then throwing herself at Lu Chang'an and licking him, which was simply unsightly. Ouch! 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 Zhou Dongdong shouted first. Giggle, Shang Guandandan laughed a few times, unscrewed the lid of his own thermos, and poured champagne for everyone to drink. Only then did Bai Hui come back to her senses. That shouldn't be a subject, but cosplay. She may have bought a set of relatively large cosplay costumes. Nowadays, the purpose of many people playing cosplay is actually to selling meat became popular. That's not the point. The point is that you didn't get any inspiration from such things, Shang Guandandan said meaningfully. Inspiration, white anise roots were hot. Did he mean to ask her to imitate her cousin and wear that kind of underwear to make a video for Lu Chang'an to watch? It's this COS thing you mentioned. You can ask Lu Chang'an to take pictures. Just say that the clothes are a bit bold. You don't trust others. He is your good friend. He has a good character and makes people feel reassured. He will not take advantage of you. He is cheap and a gentleman. Shang Guandandan said with great certainty, if you pick him up and praise him, he will nod and praise himself. Well, Hui is right, I am such a gentleman. She asked me to help take pictures because of me. My moral character is extremely high, so if I don't agree to help, it seems like I'm being petty. Bai Hui lowered her head and pressed her ears, which were burning with her palms, imagining herself wearing the large-scale COS clothes from Azalane, Mechanical Age, or even the large-scale COS clothes in this album, and looking for Lu Chang'an to take pictures. What a shame. Even if it is Lu Chang'an, I can't ask him to take such a photo. The last time I took a photo at Nanshan Ranch, I was wearing normal clothes. Later, the dressing room was blown away, and a cute little sheep kicked Lu Chang'an until he was on the body. That was purely an accident. How could you take the initiative to ask him to do such a thing? What a bitch, you have to boil a 1,000-year-old bitch into a pill and eat it before you can do such a crazy thing. However, Bai Hui can also see that this is a sign that she is favored in front of Shang Guandandan. Only in this case will Shang Guandandan take the initiative to make suggestions. She has a very accurate grasp of Lu Chang'an's personality. This is what she deserves. A point of learning and attention. Shang Guan stopped talking and said no more. Many times, you don't need to persuade the other party to the point of enlightenment. You just need to give a little guidance and bury a little root in the other person's heart. At the right time, this little root the beard will break out of the ground. Sister Bai, you want to take pictures? Sister Dandan can help you put on makeup. I'll take pictures for you. Zhou Dongdong wanted to be helpful. Shang Guandandan puts on makeup. Zhou Dongdong takes photos. This was really difficult for him to deal with. Bai Hui still smiled and nodded. Lu Chang'an came back from the condiment table and prepared 2 dipping sauces for Bai Fen. Is this the taste of love? Bai Hui asked puzzledly. Most people say that the taste of love is sweet and sour, so I brought you sour plum sauce and sweet sauce. What about bitter and spicy? Because everyone only yearns for the sweetness of love, who would want the bitterness of love? As for spicy, it is not actually a taste. The only flavors that human taste buds can taste are sweet, sour, bitter, salty, and spicy is actually a taste. Pain is caused by the stimulation of cells by spicy spices. So I carefully selected sour plum sauce and sweet sauce for you. Lu Chang'an nodded. I am really considerate. Seeing him nodding and praising himself, Bai Hui remembered Shang Guandandan's words just now, and fell silent. The first thing to be served is a cow, which is a platter. The plate is made to look like a cow, and the meat of each part of the cow is placed in the corresponding position. Zhou Dongdong hopes that after eating, he can lie on the plate and let others. He was carried home, but Lu Chang'an mercilessly rejected it. Shang Guandandan also ordered 2 pieces of tomahawk steak. The beef here comes from Yunnan, which is much fresher and more hygienic than the so-called Weijiao, whose origin, transportation, and channels are unknown, and the price is more affordable. Lu Chang'an also had niubao, which he liked to eat. He gave it to Bai Hui and Shang Guandandan, but they were unwilling to eat it. Zhou Dongdong wanted to eat it, but Lu Chang'an refused to give it to her. Eating food rich in male hormones is not good for a little girl's development. Healthy, in fact, there is nothing wrong with eating one meal. But thinking about how he deceived Bai Hui into eating goat eggs, Bai Hui still holds a grudge. Who knows if Zhou Dongdong will grow up and be resentful of being fed niubao by his brother Chang'an when he was a child. After finishing the charcoal-fired barbecue beef, Zhou Dongdong once again tried to lie down on the plate and wanted to be carried home, but was still refused. He had to wave the 2 bones of the tomahawk steak and stand majestically on the electric car. Hui Hui, aren't you going to sleep with Xiao Tang tonight? Take my electric carriage there. Shang Guandandan waved to Bai Hui. Yeah, but can this one be seated? Otherwise, I'd better take a taxi there. After Bai Hui said this, he felt a little regretful. How could he educate himself just now? What's the point of being reserved at this time? It's normal for even ordinary friends to squeeze in and sit down. Fortunately, the Queen Mother had already felt that Bai Hui was deeply in my heart and she naturally wanted to save her. The electric pony carriage is the most important household appliance. It can seat many people. There is no problem for the 4 of us. This thing is called a means of transportation, not a household appliance. Lu Chang'an corrected Shang Guandandan's chaotic knowledge system, just like Zhu Huntang. He always pays attention to these insignificant things, completely unaware that he has fallen into the beauty trap designed by the Queen Mother for him. Hui Hui, you sit behind Lu Chang'an, Where Dongdong's mother usually sits, Shang Guandandan exercised his power as the master of the harem and allocated everyone's positions. Is it okay? Bai Hui glanced at Lu Chang'an again and asked for his opinion. I'm just a coachman. Lu Chang'an made the final decision on all major matters at home, and he always followed Shang Guandandan's whim on such small matters. Bai Hui sat at the end of the electric car seat. Wearing such a long skirt, she could only sit sideways, which felt a bit cramped. Her thighs were right next to Lu Chang'an. Fortunately, it was not summer when everyone wore light clothes. I didn't feel too embarrassed, and the journey wasn't too far. I hoped that without sitting down, both of them could feel each other's warm body temperature through the fabric of their clothes. PGMMP. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 1014. Even with Lu Chang'an's strength and driving skills, the speed bumps that can be seen everywhere on city streets still make the overwhelmed electric pony car gasp and bump from time to time. The cool night breeze blew against Bai Fen's tender and slightly warm cheeks. When braking in a bumpy road, she would often bump into Lu Chang'an's back involuntarily. At first, because she was sitting sideways, it was just her shoulders that bumped into her, but because she was talking to Shang Guandandan, she often had to twist her body forward. Chest will bump into Lu Chang'an. Could he recall that time Bai Hui confronted him head-on and think she was doing it on purpose now? Not at all. It was hard for her to explain, so her cheeks felt warm. Fortunately, after Shang Guandandan chatted with her for a few words, he and Zhou Dongdong started talking about going out to a graveyard during the Qingming festival and setting fire to the mountain to see if any zombies came out. Bai Hui's recovery would not let him feel it. Sitting posture in Bai Ni Yuniang's tomb, Baini Yuniang's tomb, see continuation chapter 113 for details. Lu Chang'an, I have already decided what car to buy, Bai Hui said while watching the cars on the road. Oh? What car? Bid Han. Lu Chang'an looked surprised. Last time I saw you and An Nuan chatting so happily, I really thought you would drive some kind of sister car, not a Volvo. Women are indeed like this. Don't take the content of their chats when they are laughing and chatting as real. Maybe they are more accurate when they gnash their teeth and spit behind their backs. No more. I heard that those who like Volvo are some sour men who think they are elegant. After Bai Hui finished speaking, he coughed lightly. Some online opinions do not represent my own opinions. Well, online public opinion affects people with actual willingness to consume. No wonder now, no matter what product field, there are a large number of trolls. Lu Chang'an affirmed this point from the perspective of an observer. What do you think? Bai Hui asked. Lu Chang'an's focus always went astray. When she told him this, of course she wanted to ask for his opinion again. It's pretty good. Lu Chang'an was a little confused and looked back at Bai Hui's Hermes bag. However, with your personality of admiring luxury brands, at best you should choose a luxury car with a price of 40,000 to 500,000 yuan, Bid Han also just 2 or 300,000, right? There are no girls who don't like luxury brands, Bai Hui argued loudly, and then admitted with some frustration, when I first had some money, I really couldn't wait to buy this bag, but then I slowly made money on my own. Now, I am no longer so keen on buying luxury goods to satisfy my vanity. Lu Chang'an nodded. He had been to Bai Hui's studio, so there was a cabinet of brand name shoes, bags, and clothes, all purchased without being so keen. It seemed that many of the girls' emotions, adjectives, and psychological conditions, they all deviate greatly from men's usual understanding. Actually, I mainly consider practicality now. A car worth 200,000 to 300,000 yuan is enough. When I really need to support the scene, I can ask my cousin or Xiao Tang. What kind of car can't be borrowed? Bai Hui actually still wants to save money and buy another one. As for the house, her studio is an apartment with no purchase restrictions and is not considered her first home. She can also easily buy a large house. In the eyes of her classmates, she is undoubtedly a rich little girl, but with friends like Zhu Huntang, she knows that her little money now is nothing, so she should take advantage of the booming development of online short videos to become a celebrity. If you have a plump little white pig, why don't you hurry up and save some money in your own little pig's nest? Maybe one day, your industry will go downhill, and the days of making easy money will come to an end, but the money you originally earned has been spent lavishly, so what can you do? It would be miserable to think that I would not be a rich woman and would not have a boyfriend by then. It makes sense. But I remembered one thing. What's up? I found that the heroines in the novel all seemed to drive luxury cars, but none of them drove domestically produced new energy vehicles, which were branded bid. Lu Chang'an couldn't help but laugh. Yeah, Bai Hui pouted, I'm not the heroine of a novel. She's not even Lu Chang'an's heroine. Hum. I remember there was a heroine named Yezulan, who drove a limited edition Lamborghini Murcielago SV, and then got into a car accident. There was also a heroine named Nzishui, who drove a Rolls-Royce Phantom, and bought a Porsche with her boyfriend, and later she drove a cow-painted Bentley with her good sister Han Yingge, and then she was cheated on by her good sister. Lu Chang'an continued with some regret, it's a pity that the heroines who drive luxury cars are a bit miserable. The author may be telling everyone secretly that girls must drive domestically produced new energy vehicles in order to be safe and not have a green head. I don't even have a boyfriend. If I want to have sex, I'll have sex with someone else. Bai Hui was a bit sensitive, suspecting that Lu Chang'an meant something to him, and spoke angrily and loudly while holding his neck. He even wanted to give him a few bear bumps from behind. You want to cheat on someone else, and why are you so loud? I'll kill you. There are tens of millions of roads, safety is the first priority, driving is irregular, and relatives are in tears. There will be a movie called The Wandering Earth released at the end of this year. You can go and watch it then. When she got home, Zhou Shuling had already come back and was sitting on the sofa taking off her stockings. She had worn high heels for a rare day today and her toes were a little sore. She rubbed a few toes while looking up at Zhou Dongdong, who was strutting around. Today is the day of White Sister, are you treating me to a treat? Did you say thank you, sister? Sister Bai treated us to a cow. Zhou Dongdong waved the beef ribs in his hand like a helicopter. Zhou Shuling couldn't believe it. Without her, how could they eat a cow? No, even if you add yourself, you can't eat a cow. The last time we ate camel, everyone had a lot left over and packed it back. It's just a beef platter, with various parts of the cow on the plate. Bai Hui introduced with a smile, and then saw that the light of longing in Zhou Shuling's eyes disappeared. She couldn't help but wonder if Sister Zhou was envious of everyone who ate it just now. A cow. Xiaoling, do the photos you took today look good? The makeup artist seems to be pretty good. Shang Guandandan carefully looked at Zhou Shuling's makeup. She had just returned home and had not yet removed her makeup. This is the first time I have seen Zhou Shuling put on this kind of makeup that is slightly richer for taking pictures, giving her a bit of an urban girl vibe. Sure enough, for women, makeup is basically a reincarnation level job. It would be great to redo it every day. I looked at the original film and it was pretty good, Zhou Shuling said a little embarrassedly, feeling as if she didn't even recognize herself in the photo. Didn't Li Hongfang go take a short video for Gao Yanang's F4 scented tea today? Why did you take a photo too? Lu Chang'an asked casually. After Gao Yanang failed to express his love to Professor Lu, he also failed to successfully renew the spokesperson contract. Later, when he met Professor Lu and Li Hongfang, he found another spokesperson that he thought was suitable. With Professor Liu's approval, Li Hongfang took over the job. Errand. Fang Fang asked me to accompany her. The photographer is from Mr. Gao's company, and there is no extra cost for taking pictures. Fang Fang helped me put on my makeup, Zhou Shuling explained, taking off her two stuffed the stockings into the bag and put on the high heels again. Bai Hui has a cartoon animation, which is a scene of a girl putting on or taking off stockings. It feels quite tempting. Did Zhou Shuling not realize that Lu Chang'an was here just now? If Bai Hui was Bai Hui, she would probably be a little embarrassed. Maybe it's because she and Lu Chang'an don't have any thoughts about the difference between men and women. Sister Zhou's legs are indeed very charming, but Lu Chang'an has already seen too many performances by some girls who like to buy stockings for their boyfriends. The program of putting on and taking off stockings. Bai Hui looked down at her gorgeous gold-woven gauze skirt. There was also a pair of beautiful legs hidden underneath. It's just that, even if they don't want to admit it, the women in the building's codenamed Bailong Center do have enviably long legs. You can't use other people's strengths to undermine your own confidence. Anixi has a strong personality. Looking around, she is the biggest in the room. Well, she is almost on an equal footing with Sister Zhou. This company is also discerning. If their company wants to recruit people, I can also work for them. Shang Guandandan loves Wujai Wu. Since he knows how to appreciate his beloved daughter-in-law and harem queuing team members, it must be a good company. Don't, that's my classmate's cousin's company. If you want to work, go to Zhu Huntang. She can arrange a job for you where you don't have to work 365 days a year. Lu Chang'an did not expect that. On Arbor Day, I took Guandandan to plant trees, but she was still the last person to do it. Do I like people who get something for nothing? To work is to use your own labor to create value, and at the same time honestly accept being exploited and lose most of the remaining value. I want to create value and be exploited like ordinary people. When Shang Guandandan was hiding in the coffin and refused to come out, he often listened to Lu Chang'an's lectures on modern society, and combined with his own knowledge, he gained a lot of knowledge. Did you and Zhu Huntang learn all this nonsense? Lu Chang'an analyzed it and found that Shang Guandandan and Zhu Huntang were really alike in every aspect. One was the once supreme leader of the feudal ruling class, and the other was an extravagant asset. Class lady. Of course we need to communicate with each other. Xiao Tang said that there is a large area in Antarctica for us to build a nation. As long as we launch artificial sun to transform the ecological environment, it is a very suitable place for us to develop our national power in a low-key manner. It will be our country of extraordinary humans, arresting people everywhere be our slaves. Shang Guandandan said with great anticipation that by then she would be the Queen Mother, ride a pony carriage, and have people from all over the country come to her vending machine to buy things, so that the business would be huge. Lu Chang'an sighed. If they really want to change the Antarctic environment according to their ideas, the biological populations at low altitudes in this world will basically become extinct. Humanity will suffer huge losses, but the population will not become extinct. The important thing is that Tesla will be released by them, and Lu Chang'an will have to take action again, so they are messing around, and Lu Chang'an will be in trouble in the end. Fortunately, their execution ability and willingness may not be that strong, so they won't worry too much. Once there is any movement in this regard, they will arrest them, tie them to a sycamore tree, and beat them. You are all people with lofty ideals. It would be great if Dong Dong also had such lofty ideals. When Zhou Shuling was in elementary school, she heard the teacher say that everyone should establish ideals, but unfortunately she had forgotten it, and Zhou Dongdong's lofty ideals, the ideal Zhou Shuling knows, is to buy a garbage truck to pick up garbage. What's the use of having lofty ideals? Sister Xiao Tang has lofty ideals, but she can't even eat as well as me, Zhou Dongdong said disapprovingly. Sister Bai ate better than Sister Xiao Tang today. You guys are playing at home, and I'll give you some white fennel. Lu Chang'an did not want to participate in or listen to their conversation. At the same time, in order to protect Bai Hui from being contaminated by their radiation, he decided to take Bai Hui away. It's still early, it's only around 8 o'clock, and Bai Hui still wants to play here for a while. How did he know that Lu Chang'an actually issued an eviction order? Suddenly he felt a little unhappy and followed him glumly. After just walking out of the community, Lu Chang'an had no intention of going back and still walked forward with Bai Hui. "Where are you going?" Bai Hui asked. "I ate too much meat at night. I'd like you to have a cup of tea to relieve your tiredness." Lu Chang'an came to a Chinese tea shop with beautiful tea. In 2018, the Chayanyu store in downtown Juncha was almost empty, and you always had to wait for a while after ordering. "What are you drinking?" Lu Chang'an asked. "Ah, I don't care," Bai Hui said with a warm face. Lu Chang'an ordered orchid latte, double cream and double pecan crumble for white fennel. Lu Chang'an ordered cranberry latte without adding anything. Same as last time, Bai Hui played cards with Shang Guanduntan that afternoon, and had dinner at Lu Chang'an's house in the evening. Shang Guanduntan asked Lu Chang'an to see him off, and ordered tea with him here, that's all. I don't know if it's a coincidence or if he remembered it. What made Bai Fen's face hot was that she was so crazy that day that she actually took him and hid in the dark corridor of a residential building behind the street. She opened her bra and showed him what fresh cranberries should look like. Continuation Chapter 158, White Cranberries. Will he think back to that scene when he is in despair? I saw some readers saying that the timeline of this book is confusing. In fact, it is not. The book is written from 2017 to 2018. Some readers said that it was written in 2020. In fact, it is just because November 2020 was written at the beginning of continuation chapter 116. That is not actually the time in writing the book, but when Xiahua created a new document, she marked it as 2020. The date was copied into the manuscript for November 2018 when it was updated. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kuiken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 1015. Under the lights of the dark night, holding a teacup with a classic lady pattern, a beautiful girl wearing a short jacket with a short skirt and a woven gold gauze skirt seemed to have traveled through time. Her bright eyes reflected the splendor of hundreds of years later and gave way. People see the elegant temperament of hundreds of years ago. Would you like some cream and crushed pecans for you? Bai Fen hasn't drank yet, and wants to use her own cream to cover the dried cranberries on Lu Chang'an's tea. I don't know what's the use of doing so, but who wouldn't choose to be an ostrich when feeling ashamed? Lu Chang'an stretched out his cup, and Bai Fen quickly picked up his tall pile of whipped cream and chopped pecans. He watched the dried cranberries buried that symbolized her shameful and dark history, and couldn't help but tiptoe happily. Stand on tiptoes. By the way, what Dan Dan was talking about just now is about going to Antarctica to found a country. I heard Xiao Tang say that her mother has a laboratory there, just to develop Antarctica in the future. Is it feasible with the climate in Antarctica? Bai Hui knew Lu Chang'an. I am quite interested in this topic. If I talk to him about beauty, clothing, bags, variety shows, horoscopes, fashion, entertainment gossip and other topics, I am afraid that he will look at her with the same eyes as Zhu Huntang, and classify Bai Hui into in the category of reducing traffic. Of course there is, but there is a big villain buried under the Antarctic ice cap who is trying to control all mankind. If she is accidentally released, it will be a big trouble. Lu Chang'an knew that Zhu Huntang must be interested in this kind of thing, but Su Mei should have clearly realized the threat of Tesla after the Tesla kidnapping incident. Su Mei may not take the initiative to care about the safety of all mankind, and may even accept all mankind being kept in captivity, but if she herself is included in the captivity range by Tesla, she may have to stand on the opposite side of Tesla. The big villain trying to control all mankind. It sounds like the plot in a movie. You don't think there is such a conspiracy theory in reality, right? Bai Hui couldn't help but laugh. Boys would really be interested in such ridiculous things. Lu Chang'an, who believed in such things, finally revealed the middle-class feeling common among boys of this age. People often say that reality is often more absurd than the plots created in film and television novels, But when absurd plots are actually performed in reality, people will ask how could such a thing happen in reality. Lu Chang'an also smiled, as long as you have enough strength and plan carefully, various plans for all mankind are not that difficult to realize. Bai Hui was stunned for a moment. He just felt that the middle-class feeling exuding from him seemed to be just an illusion. Lu Chang'an was still like this. He would subvert other people's first impressions of many things with a little analysis. Many movies and TV novels with conspiracy theories are promoted by real conspiracy planners. The purpose is to make people think that these conspiracies can only appear in the story. Once the conspiracy is actually implemented in reality, even if their plans are blatantly revealed, many people will subconsciously think how could the reality be like this. Lu Chang'an looked at Bai Hui, there are too many people like you, so they unabashedly prepare vaccines in advance, and then poison them, eliminating some people while profiting from them, and repeating this cycle again and again, all in it's done blatantly in front of the public, and most people are still accusing the sober people of conspiracy theories. What do you mean there are too many people like me? I am just a 19-year-old girl who only wants to make a small amount of money, and the country has protected me very well. Growing up in such an environment, it is natural not to be so vigilant. It's excusable. Bai Hui didn't take the blame, she said it as if something big happened in the future, she would also be responsible. Lu Chang'an was just chatting casually. Seeing her angrily putting her hands on her hips, she laughed again, that's right. Mainly because it's useless for ordinary people to worry, and they even said they can do things to prepare for their own safety. Very few. Lu Chang'an remembered what he had said during a chat with Zhu Huntang last year. Zhu Huntang said that she chose Juncha because Juncha was safer than Hua City in the north. If there was an attack, Hua would be targeted first instead of Juncha, 7th chapter 15. How can ordinary people consider their own safety issues from this perspective? It's just funny, the fairies' thinking is so easy to laugh at. I said, if there really is a doomsday scene like in the novel, can I come and join you? Bai Hui thought of a doomsday novel he had recently read. A girl as beautiful and with a good figure as herself, in the apocalypse basically, they are reduced to characters who trade their bodies for food, unless they follow the protagonist. Lu Chang'an is like the kind of male protagonist who can protect many girls in the end of the world. He also thought about digging a cellar and locking up Bai Hui, and Bai Hui has not forgotten it. This is also what may happen in the apocalypse. It's okay to go to me, but you can hug me a lot. Shangguan Dandan and Zhu Huntang should both have the capital to survive in the apocalypse. Lu Chang'an nodded and invited him to dinner several times. When it comes to her, if she is not protected, she will feel uncomfortable, and it will be very unpleasant if her thoughts are not clear. I just like hugging your thigh. Bai Hui couldn't help but blurt out. When he saw him looking at her with the corner of his mouth slightly raised, he couldn't help but feel a little flustered. He hurriedly explained, I think Dandan and Xiaotang may want to hug your thigh by then, so I might as well hug you directly. Okay, hold your brain, I mean thighs. Lu Chang'an patted his leg. There were quite a few people wanting to hug his thigh. Fortunately, he really had thick thighs, but he was also used to Bai Hui being tongue-tied and speaking garbledly when he was nervous. The two of them chatted and walked along Jifang West Road towards the riverside. The shops on both sides were mainly bars, the sidewalks were full of vendors, and there were many luxury cars in the parking spaces along the street. There were always many people every night. The golden rich man and the beautiful woman who wants to catch the rich man are repeated, and there is not much new idea, and it may not be possible to achieve the exchange of body fluids that each of them needs. This is also the main place where many stories in the documentary guarding Jifang West took place. People often come here to check in at the Poza Street police station. There are so many crazy people nowadays. Going to the police station to check in is worse than squatting for a while to have a more profound experience. When he came here, Lu Chang'an's attention was slightly focused on Bai Hui to prevent accidents. After all, he had already noticed that many strange beasts like to hang out here, and Zhu Ni often attracts people here. The last time Guan Yuan, Ma Benwei and Jin Xiaomei were kidnapped by Xiao Kaiming, it was also in this bar. The alien beasts are probably also attracted by the prosperity and decadent atmosphere of modern cities. Intelligent creatures always like to pursue pleasure, and physical satisfaction is often the most direct and intense. Here can provide a variety of the physical enjoyment that alien beasts can't get enough of. But they are low level after all. Before humans appeared, Lu Chang'an often slept for a long time. After waking up or returning to the animal world, he would not catch some female animals and mess with them. Instead, he would walk around and look at them again. Get familiar with the world, understand the changes in various places during this period, and find out whether the small animals you take care of or keep in certain places have become extinct. Lu Chang'an. While drinking tea and thinking about something, someone suddenly called his name. White Fennel. Bai Hui also came back to his senses, chatting with Lu Chang'an or walking around in silence. There was always a feeling that he exuded an aura and enveloped him, making people feel safe, as if he was a kitten in space. The same as in the cabin backpack. The person who called them was Lin Xinhua. He, his girlfriend Yu Shui, and high school classmates Lei Hong and Zhao Chen were sitting together eating barbecue, with a large cup of fruit tea in front of each of them. "We were talking about you just now," Lin Xinhua said with a smile. When he saw Bai Hui and Lu Chang'an walking together, he didn't make a joke on them, but just pulled up the seat next to him. Lei Hong and Zhao Chen, on the other hand, kept staring at Bai Hui and Lu Chang'an until they sat down, then looked at each other again, and then drank fruit tea to suppress their desire to gossip in person. "What are you talking about us?" Bai Hui glanced at Lu Chang'an and made a generous appearance, thinking about the gossip about the two of them behind their backs. She must think that she and Lu Chang'an have an ambiguous relationship, right? This is a matter of course. Something ambiguous happened between her and Lu Chang'an. Was it known to her classmates? Absolutely not. That was just nonsense. They were just classmates, so Bai Hui wasn't too angry. It's what happened last time when we played games together at the esports hotel. Lin Xinhua still remembered that you shared your experience with him on the top lane, leaving him completely unable to compete with Lu Chang'an, Yu Shui said with a smile. Yu Shui is a girl herself, and she often plays games with other girls, but it is rare for her to be as outrageous as Bai Hui, Miao Yingying, or Zhao Chen here. We lost, but I took one of Miao Yingying's heads, Zhao Chen said with his head held high as if to show off his great achievements. Haha, you three are all losers. At that time, Lei Hong was still taught the basic operations and rules of the game by Zhao Chen, but now he has grown up. Yesterday you and I both lost in solo, Zhao Chen gave him a thunderbolt. How to win? Bai Hui actively asked for advice. She felt that she was definitely better at playing than Zhao Chen, but she was always a little timid when compared with boys. She wanted to know if Zhao Chen had any methods other than games that she could learn from. She chose an assistant for me, and she didn't allow me to buy equipment. I wasn't allowed to attack her within 10 minutes, and she kept taunting me. I couldn't help but rush to the tower and was killed by the tower. Lei Hong became angry just thinking about it. How could he be so for play? It's not enough to win like this, but you also have to post the performance chart to your friends and classmates to show off. It turns out that you can win this way. Bai Hui holds the tea in both hands and sips it in small sips. The basis for winning is the concession of boys to girls. But will Lu Chang'an do this? Probably only An Nuan can do it. Most people can only kill with vigor. Just like last time, he killed Bai Hui 7 times in one night, and it was a life and death struggle. I remember the last time we played together, Lei Hong seemed to be entering the game for the first time. What rank is he in now? Lu Chang'an saw that Lei Hong was quite confident when talking about the game. I just got on diamond, and I can't get points anymore. I'm hero spoon, so I just play hand of knuckles. When Lei Hong faced Lu Chang'an, he was no longer so confident. He was watching from the side last time he played the game. Lu Chang'an can kill Lin Xinhua alone. Although Bai Fen affected Lin Xinhua's development at that time, before Bai Fen came to cause trouble, Lu Chang'an had been pushing the line and keeping Lin Xinhua under the tower. Lin Xinhua's professional position is as a jungler, and he was also a jungler when he ranked first in the Korean server. However, he is actually an all-round player, and his strength when playing the top lane position is not comparable to ordinary people. That's pretty cool. After all, you haven't played for long. Lu Chang'an praised him. When children play games, they have to praise them so that they can play better. Of course, like Bai Hui, Miao Yingying, and Zhao Chen, they are not children, they are fairy-type players. The more you praise them, the less they can find their way and they will get lost on the game map. How about we go play games? Bai Hui looked at the time. It was quite early. Zhu Huntang had to go back to Bailong Center before 11 o'clock. It was just a good time to find something to do. Okay, Zhao Chen and Lei Hong both responded. Don't you have to play a training match today? Lu Chang'an asked Lin Xinhe. To others, this was pure entertainment, but to Lin Xinhe, it was work. No need. We have a full schedule for the early games. We have been idle recently. We are a new team and we can't make that many appointments for the training games. Lin Xinhua shook his head. Yu Shui gently held Lin Xinhua's hand. Her vision was not wrong at all. When Lin Xinhua first joined the team, she felt that he was a potential stock and she cared about him very much. According to his performance in the spring game, Lin Xinhua would probably get it. This year's best rookie will definitely get a big contract in the summer split. You must know that top junglers are always the most sought after. Thinking of this, Yu Shui glanced at Bai Hui. She knew that Bai Hui's best friend Miao Yingying was Lin Xinhua's ex-girlfriend. So Miao Yingying abandoned Lin Xinhua to pursue a top student, which was somewhat unreasonable. Bai Hui and I feel like Lu Chang'an is quite worthy of him, but I don't know if he has been promoted. With the gossip in mind, Yu Shui let go of Lin Xinhua's hand, came over to hold Bai Hui's arm, and praised Bai Hui's outfit, makeup, and bag with a hint of amazement. A group of people came to a nearby internet cafe. The man swiped his ID card and the woman swiped her fingerprint. This internet cafe has strict enforcement of the no smoking policy, and there are signs prohibiting e-cigarettes on the wall. You must know that many internet cafes turn a blind eye to smoking in order not to affect business, and many players also turn a blind eye to smoking when playing games. Not smoking may even affect your technical level. Sitting behind the bar was a plump woman, about 30 years old, wearing a high-slit cheongsam, revealing the gleaming white muscles of her legs, making customers who came in couldn't help but take a second look. The woman was talking to another middle-aged man with an affectionate look. Zhao Chen walked with everyone to the hall and sat down before he lowered his voice and gossiped, "That man is Lu Yuan's father, and this internet cafe seems to belong to Lu Yuan's family." After saying that, Zhao Chen glanced at Bai Hui inquiringly. After all, Bai Hui and Lu Yuan were familiar with each other in high school. Zhao Chen was only deeply impressed by Lu Yuan's father's grand arrangement when he came to school during the high school parent-teacher conference, and Lu Yuan, he dad has a big mole on his nose, which is very eye-catching. It seems so, Bai Hui said vaguely. This Zhao Chen, at first glance, it seems that Bai Hui and the Lu family are so close and familiar. To Bai Hui, he was very close to Qian Ning and Lu Yuan in high school. It was simply a shame. I don't want people to mention history in front of Lu Chang'an. Fortunately, out of the corner of Bai Hui's eye, Lu Chang'an was staring at a vending machine in the middle hall, sighing, and did not notice Zhao Chen and Bai Hui gossiping. After finding a seat in a row, Bai Hui said to Lu Chang'an, let me walk with you. It's easier for us to communicate if I sit next to you. Bai Hui's voice was louder because she was speaking to others, and she had a sufficient and necessary reason to sit next to Lu Chang'an. You assist me, or shall I assist you? Lu Chang'an had no objection. I play auxiliary glory, don't you remember? The last time I played glory, I almost killed you when I cooperated with Lin Xinhua. Bai Hui said that his glory girl played well. Lin Xinhua was sitting next to Lu Chang'an. He took a deep look at Bai Hui and said nothing. Lu Chang'an thought for a while and decided to forget it. Playing games with friends is of course entertainment first and competition second. He originally wanted to assist Bai Hui. After all, in the eyes of top support players, even a dog on his own can penetrate the bottom lane. As long as he feeds the head to the ADC's mouth and pokes her with a small stick a few times to make her swallow, she can always develop. It's a pity. It's okay to lead a dog, but it's not necessarily possible to lead Bai Fen. Her game level is not as good as that of a dog. There were only 5 players in this game, and Zhao Chen didn't play. She was Lei Hong's substitute. It was agreed that Lei Hong couldn't be super good in this game, so she would be the carry in the next game. Everyone dispersed after playing until 11 o'clock. Zhao Chen and Lei Hong did not go back to school tonight and rented a room on Taiping Street to stay. Lin Xinhua wanted to return to the team's base station. This is the first year of his career and he must self-discipline is required. Too much intimacy with the opposite sex will significantly reduce the level of operation. Lu Chang'an sent Bai Hui to Beilong Center. I had so much fun today. Bai Hui held the skirt on her legs with both hands and walked briskly and lively. It feels so good to have 2 people walking together in the game. When I help him, he will protect her. When someone kills her, he will avenge her. Sometimes he hides like a cute little animal and steals. Looking at the majestic protective beast and his various operations, the feeling of admiration and love arises spontaneously in my heart. No wonder many boys and girls become lovers when they play games together. No wonder some boys feel a sense of crisis when they find out that their girlfriends are assisting others, and they even become green-eyed. We only played 5 games, and you gave me 4 first blood. Especially in the first game, that first level group, you died twice, and I was 1 pickaxe ahead of me on the other side. Lu Chang'an shook his head. I inserted so many eyes for you, and I stood in the grass far away to help you watch. Bai Hui looked at Lu Chang'an in surprise. Wasn't he happy at all? I'm basically 1 against 2, no, 1 against 3, you're the opponent. Even Lu Chang'an found it difficult. I even added blood for you. I added a shield for you. During team battles, I don't care about others and only protect you. Bai Hui simply died unjustly. The most outrageous thing is that at the end of the lanning period, you are 4 levels lower than the opponent's support. Bai Hui often hides in the grass where she has no experience. She thinks that as long as she stays far away, the opponent can't do anything to her. Wait until Lu Chang'an. If she encountered danger, it would be too late for her to run over. The support person opposite is also a girl. She mocked me. Of course I had to type a response to her and explain my operating ideas and consciousness to her. Bai Hui said matter-of-factly. When girls play games, once they find out that the person opposite is also a girl, they often looking down on the other party. Bai Hui originally wanted to scold him back, but felt that he could not show his lack of quality in front of Lu Chang'an, so he persuaded him with reason. I don't think glory is suitable for you. You should just play a hero like a nanny, and I'll be able to do it. Glory girl is an assistant that many girls like to choose, but in fact it is a role that requires certain predictions, positioning, and operation. The hero is not very suitable for pure novices. Okay. Bai Hui looked around, grabbed Lu Chang'an's hand, stood on tiptoes slightly, her eyes flying like peach blossoms falling and dancing in the wind. What do you mean? Lu Chang'an quickly withdrew his hand. You said you wanted me to breastfeed you. After Bai Hui said that, She quickly ran away, her skirt fluttering, her big sleeves raised, and she flew away like a happy bird. If you like Hwizi plgmmp. If you know like ta, dang guimaishuo. Everybody, Genwo study English, happy bulletin happy. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 1016. Bai Hui ran to the vestibule square of Beilong Center before he stopped. He pressed his chest and his heart beat loudly. He was getting bolder and bolder. Could he push Lu Chang'an back one day? I guess not. No matter what he can tolerate now, if it really gets to that point, maybe he will press her face and smash her to the floor. It's not impossible. After all, he was the one who gave his cousin a knife. He knocked her unconscious directly, which still makes her feel resentful. Call. It is said that when a boy puts a girl's hand on his chest, it means to reassure her. When he put his hand on Bai Hui just now, it means to breastfeed her. This logic seems to be correct, so it can be regarded as his letting go. She did this, so you can't cause trouble for her. Thinking this way, Bai Hui was no longer so uneasy, and then saw Zhu Huntang sending Professor Lu and another plump middle-aged woman away. The two middle-aged women were both wearing cheongsams. The hems of their cheongsams were fluttering in the night breeze, revealing their fair and plump leg muscles. They hurriedly boarded a Porsche on the side of the road and left. Bai Hui quickly waved to Zhu Huntang and ran over, only to find that Zhu Huntang was holding a small crocodile in his hand. Ah! Why are you holding the crocodile? Bai Hui was shocked. This little crocodile was actually wearing a black donkey brand crocodile leather jacket. Taking a crocodile as a pet and dressing the crocodile in crocodile skin clothing, how could Zhu Huntang be such a devil? This is a lizard. Its name is Mrs. Christine. Mrs. Christine, stick out your tongue and show it to the little white pig to prove that you are a lizard, Zhu Huntang ordered. The lizard stuck out its long tongue. Ah! Bai Hui exclaimed when she saw the long forked red tongue, you call me a lizard, Mrs. Christine, but you call me a little white pig. Do you want to feed me to it eats? Your brain circuit is so weird. Zhu Huntang was stunned for a moment, then laughed. Here, let me take you for a walk. Bai Hui quickly ran to the side, lay down on the wall, turned around and warned Zhu Huntang not to come over. She would not hold this thing. Zhu Huntang can make all kinds of animals obedient in her hands, Bai Fennel is not capable of this. Let's go shopping and play the game of throwing darts at balloons and exchanging dolls, Zhu Huntang waved. Opposite Beilong Center is Huangxing Road, which is the busiest place in the city. The rent for opening a shop here is very high, but at night the urban management personnel are no longer around, and there are still many people playing at night. There are small stalls that can run away at any time without paying rent. All laid out. Darts and balloons for dolls are a popular stall recently, but Bai Hui has never tried it. Her parents have taught her since she was a child that the air guns used to shoot balloons and trade for dolls are all modified. If this stall is replaced with darts, it will definitely be the same. Bai Hui believed in the modified darts. However, there is no problem in playing with Zhu Huntang. Late at night, Zhu Huntang has breadmen scattered around, holding such an ugly and weird animal in his hand, so there is definitely no problem with his safety. Did you get some of the dolls in your doll house? Bai Hui walked to the other side of Zhu Huntang, staying away from the rich-looking lizard. No, have you ever heard the song about my sister carrying a doll on her back? Xiao Tang, can you please stop scaring me in the middle of the night? I won't be able to sleep at night. Bai Hui quickly changed Zhu Huntang's topic. Didn't you take Professor Liu's class at Baya at night? Why did she get here just now? Here comes the itch. Humph, as long as I take Wan Yan Qingchen's class, can't I do whatever I want? I told Professor Liu that I can take classes in my library with many unique ancient books, and I can also watch them from an altitude of more than 400 meters. Night view of Juncha, while drinking Dragon Sun in class, she agreed. Zhu Huntang sneered, which professor in the field of traditional literature can resist the charm of a rare and unique copy that has not been published for hundreds of years? Then who is the other aunt? Bai Hui asked politely. Professor Ling, the neighbor across from Professor Liu's house, is very interested in Lu Chang'an, and his desire to take advantage of Lu Chang'an cannot be hidden in front of me. Zhu Huntang discovered this very keenly. She planned to choose a time to discuss this issue with Lu Chang'an. How is that possible? Bai Hui was shocked and angry. The data speaks for itself. After Zhu Huntang finished speaking, he snapped his fingers. A bread man came over and presented a tablet and mobile phone that Zhu Huntang often used in front of her. Zhu Huntang chose the mobile phone and then glanced at the bread man. Miss Third, I was wrong, the bread man apologized loudly. Zhu Huntang had no intention of arguing with him, and waved her hand for him to step down. As a boss, you can reprimand those subordinates who are responsible for protecting her life and safety, but you must not be too harsh. This is what Zhu Huntang has learned about ancient and modern times. Lessons learned from historical stories. Where did he go wrong? Bai Hui didn't see it at all. He still wants me to make the choice. He should have realized that all he needs to do is hand over the phone to me at this time. I am holding a lizard in one hand, how can I still hold such a big tablet in the other hand? How to operate it, Zhu Huntang explaining. I gave him a look and he realized it slowly. Bai Hui's eyes widened, and she felt lucky that she didn't agree when Zhu Huntang asked her to be a school assistant. Zhu Huntang took out his mobile phone, called up a series of data, and continued the previous important topic. Look, there is a lot of personal information about Professor Ling. According to model calculations, when she meets a man like Lu Chang'an, the cheating rate is as high as 9%. 16.8. No. Why do you have so much personal information about Professor Ling here? Bai Hui took the phone and swiped it up and down, dumbfounded. In this day and age, isn't personal information everywhere? Can it be seen everywhere? Zhu Huntang said nonchalantly. It turns out that there are really big capitalists collecting everyone's information behind the scenes. I've heard the relevant conspiracy theories, but I can't remember them clearly. Bai Hui recalled what Lu Chang'an said today. Well, how should I put it? You have to know that it is actually more difficult for you to directly control and use the living people we see now. But at this stage of social development, everyone has a data. The body exists on the information network. We collect everyone's data on the information network. Is it possible to completely control his data body and directly collect human data without everyone realizing it? What if our bodies become our assets? Zhu Huntang chuckled twice. This was much more advanced than selling black slaves thousands of years ago. One day, the human body will no longer directly determine his value. Only his data body can work and create wealth. From then on, there are quite a few people who are now starting to lay out data bodies that are preparing to enslave all mankind. Is this what your mother is doing? Bai Hui thinks it should be. No wonder Zhu Huntang often says that her mother is the leader of evil forces in the world. Probably so. Although I will be in charge of evil sooner or later and become an invincible bad guy in the world, for now I am not involved in any detail. I can still be regarded as a pure and kind little fairy who is harmless to humans and animals. Zhu Huntang was slightly worried. I hope that one day when I truly become a sinister, cunning bad woman, I will still remember my fairy heart as pure as crystal at this moment. Then can you use my data in this model calculation now? Bai Hui is not very worried about whether humans will be enslaved in the future, but is very curious about this issue. Zhu Huntang glanced at Bai Hui and turned around to operate. Bai Hui hurriedly jumped over to take a look. The two of them went around in circles. After a while, Bai Hui danced and danced but still didn't see the key information. but Zhu Huntang no longer hid it and showed Bai Hui the result directly. According to the model analysis, Bai Fen has a very strong desire to become a pet for a romantic partner. He is also very receptive to the fate of being locked up in a cellar by Lu Chang'an. He often fantasizes about becoming a grasshopper with Lu Chang'an, in nature. Eat green grass and reproduce. Zhu Huntang stopped laughing and sat on the lizard's back, holding his belly. The lizard stuck out his tongue and endured it. What the hell? Bai Hui's cheeks turned red with shame. She was like a fairy who descended to earth. When she was taking a bath, she suddenly found someone named Lu, the cowherd, smiling and holding the fairy's obscene clothes. The fairy wanted to dive under the water and purr. Blot bubbles. Who would dream about being together, or turning into grasshoppers together, eating grass in nature? What kind of ghost model is this? How can it even analyze some of Bai Hui's fantasies? No, this is not my fantasy. I have never imagined that we would become grasshoppers together. It was all Lu Chang'an said before that she was the grasshopper on his rope. He, you're stuttering. When you stutter, it's always because you feel guilty or when someone talks about something important. Zhu Huntang looked at Bai Hui proudly. She didn't understand Bai Hui yet. Zhu Huntang has rich life experience, is good at discerning people's hearts, and his eyesight is as sharp as a sword. Even without model analysis, he can see through Bai Hui. In short, this model analysis is wrong. I just want Lu Chang'an to turn into a grasshopper, and be held in my hand with a rope. It is best to turn into a big grasshopper, who can carry me on his back. It's a jump. Bai Hui waved his hands to deny, and threw the phone back to Zhu Huntang. I can really turn into a giant grasshopper. Then you change. Bai Hui was startled and turned around. Lu Chang'an was standing behind him, and then he remembered that it was not strange at all to meet him here. After all, it was only a short distance away from where she had just nursed him. 200 meters. Look at Bai Hui's behavioral psychological model analysis, Zhu Huntang quickly assisted. Zhu Huntang would not pay attention to Professor Ling's 96.8% chance, but Bai Hui is a favorite of his own faction and he gong. Of course, we should support those who are good at fighting. Bai Hui hurriedly wanted to rush over and grab the phone, but Lu Chang'an raised his hand to stop her, took the phone from Zhu Huntang and took a look. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 1017. Lu Chang'an raised the phone so high that Bai Hui couldn't reach it even though he was jumping around, but he bumped into Lu Chang'an several times. Fortunately, Lu Chang'an was very strong and steady physically and mentally, and he didn't move at all. Lu Chang'an took a tissue and wiped his mouth, then kneaded it into a ball and showed it to Zhu Huntang. Zhu Huntang bulged his eyes and cursed, "What a bad old man." At this time, he lowered his hand a little, and Bai Hui finally grabbed it. She quickly grabbed it and ran to the side, but the screen was turned off and she couldn't turn it on, so she couldn't take a closer look at the nonsense. Zhu Huntang made a fortune-telling app that allows you to input content by yourself. Do you believe it? Lu Chang'an held Bai Hui's head and raised the corners of his mouth slightly. A girl's affection is like a sharp bud that sprouts from the soil in March in the face of spring water. It is timid and astringent. A little wind or rain can make it shiver. It has been destroyed before it can truly sprout and grow. Broken leaves and broken stems. Even if it wasn't appropriate to respond, there was no reason to watch her being laughed at, exposing the secrets that she had hidden due to her reserve and shyness. So that's it, Bai Hui suddenly realized. The blush on his cheeks and the tension in his eyes subsided a lot, and he looked at Zhu Huntang angrily. That's right, no matter how powerful a model program is, can it still read minds? This is no longer mind reading, it's just searching Bai Hui's memory. Zhu Huntang took the phone back as if nothing had happened, and then touched his back. Xiao Tang, you are so annoying. I won't share it with you when I ejaculate in the doll. Bai Hui glanced at Lu Chang'an and found that his eyes were still clear and bright in this night, as if they were brighter than the one just now. The fortune-telling app can better understand Bai Hui's thoughts, so she hurriedly muttered and walked towards the stall. Lu Chang'an simply threw the ball of paper towels into the trash can 10 meters away. Just when he was about to scold Zhu Huntang, he found that she was slightly bent over, scratching her own back, and turning around twice with a frown on her face. "What's wrong? Is your back uncomfortable?" Lu Chang'an asked quickly. It stands to reason that besides growing up in an overly clean food environment for a long time, this sheep is not well adapted to ordinary dietary conditions and is prone to vomiting or diarrhea after eating unclean things. It is difficult to develop other illnesses. "No, I'm looking for my pot." Zhu Huntang reached out and scratched his back again. "It's your fault." After asking, Lu Chang'an understood what she meant and glared at her angrily. "It's strange, someone asked me to take such a heavy responsibility just now, and now it's gone, haha." Zhu Huntang noticed that Lu Chang'an took half a beat to react, which proved that his thinking was more agile. He couldn't help but feel proud, and smiled with his arms akimbo. "Twice. You and Bai Hui are friends. Joking between friends should be limited. Don't make jokes that hurt people's self-esteem or easily cause embarrassment. This is your own fault. You are not taking the blame for me," Lu Chang'an said in a low voice. Zhu Huntang was very unconvinced. It was not a joke at all. Her model analysis was not wrong in the first place. After knowing some of Bai Hui's real emotions and expectations, Zhu Huntang could more accurately formulate targeted strategies to help Bai Hui grow up. For the real dragon spirit pot fly. For example, in a modern city, where can a female college student like Bai Hui get a cellar? Zhu Huntang can help her get one. But Zhu Huntang couldn't explain such a reason, lest it arouse Lu Chang'an's vigilance. If one day Zhu Huntang unknowingly locked him and Bai Hui into the cellar, he would be alert and think that it was Zhu Huntang who did it. When he had enough of humiliating Bai Hui in the cellar, when it finally turns into a pangolin and comes out of its burrow, it will come to fight as soon as possible. "The night is so beautiful tonight." Zhu Huntang changed the topic, mainly to divert his attention. "It's just that these are 6 very common Chinese characters, but someone will always jump out and say, 'Ah, in Japanese, this is what I like about you.' Meaning, the words emotion have become like Japanese. Do you think these people have any illness? I think you are the only one who is sick. You are walking around with a Komodo dragon on the street at night, and even those internet celebrities who are racking their brains to attract people's attention can't survive." Lu Chang'an put the hand in his hand. He grabbed the leash and asked a breadman to take the Komodo dragon back. The breadman didn't have Zhu Huntang's ability to make this low IQ animal follow him like a normal pet. They took a muzzle and put it on the lizard, and then took the lizard back. Fortunately, the Komodo dragon in Zhu Huntang is still underage and is small in size. If it were a behemoth like an adult Komodo dragon, it would really be no different from a giant crocodile killing on the street. "Didn't I tell you this morning? It is one of my favorite pets. In the future, it will start a palace fight with my cats, dogs, alpacas, dolphins, penguins, sea lions, and beluga whales. The winner will be my fairy pet, Mrs. Christine, is very promising," Zhu Huntang said dissatisfiedly. He didn't care at all about what she told him. He was very interested in Yan Qingcheng. Yan Qingcheng didn't even open her mouth, he just eagerly gave people various things. Zhu Huntang's pet was about to start a palace battle in the amusement park on Dawang Mountain, but he didn't care at all. He was also indifferent to who would win the title of fairy pet in the end. Mrs. Christine. That's the lizard. Change your name to Natsum Soski. No, insult my lizard. 2. After chatting for a while, and taking advantage of the bad old man to feel comfortable, Zhu Huntang took Lu Chang'an's arm and followed him to the dart stall. "By the way, I think something has seriously insulted you. Seeing Bai Hui calmly throwing darts there, Zhu Huntang was quiet for 3 minutes and couldn't help it anymore. What do you want to say? Lu Chang'an pulled out his arm and took his carrying little cotton padded jacket into his arms to prevent her from escaping after committing suicide. I fed you canned food today, right? Zhu Huntang struggled for a moment. This bad old man usually doesn't hold the little baby in his arms and love her. He only does this when he wants to deal with her. He has no fatherly kindness at all. The beautiful feeling of female filial piety. Lu Chang'an didn't say anything. She just fed a few pellets, so she dipped a paper towel into a can of water as a prank. He doubted that she could seriously feed him a few pills just to make him become careless. Do you still dare to mention this matter because you are afraid that his anger is not enough? But did Yan Qingcheng feed you? Zhu Huntang waved his hand. I asked her during class in the evening, and she took the canned food back and distributed it to the classmates in the dormitory. Why do I want her to feed me? Lu Chang'an frowned. From now on, in class, just concentrate on class, less chatting, and focus on listening to the class. There are only 2 makeup classes in total. You still have to talk. There is no actual class time and study time. How long? Zhu Huntang also frowned and looked at him with pursed lips. Are all these parents the same? You can find a point related to learning in everything, and then scold the poor child. Don't you think this is just like the things you often hear about on the internet? Girls receive gifts from boys and sell them on the Xianyu app, brand new and unopened. Gifts from licking dogs, except this thing from my stepfather can be considered second-hand. Zhu Huntang usually never uses second-hand goods, but he also knows that there is such an app. Is this what you said was a serious insult to me? Lu Chang'an didn't bother to correct her app's correct name. You don't have a house. Zhu Huntang was very brave. After saying that, Zhu Huntang looked at Lu Chang'an's expression nervously. After feeling a hint of crisis, she danced and tried to struggle to escape, but she still paid the price for her bravery and was pulled to the dart stall by Lu Chang'an. What are you going to do? Zhu Huntang was scared and a little excited. Boss, give me 10 darts. The boss handed Lu Chang'an 10 darts. Lu Chang'an held them in his hand and looked at Zhu Huntang. Zhu Huntang lost his excitement, screamed, turned around and ran away. Lu Chang'an threw a dart at Zhu Huntang's back. He heard screams of "Ah" of Zhu. All 10 darts hit Zhu Huntang's butt. Zhu Huntang pulled out the dart with her backhand and ran away in tears. However, she ran to the Industrial and Commercial Bank under the octagonal pavilion and found that although the dart hit her, Lu Chang'an controlled the force and did not hurt her skin at all. It was just tied up in her skirt to scare her. Brother, I didn't know you were shooting people with darts. The stall owner was shocked. This guy's skills were invincible, but he was a little too cruel to the little girl. It's okay. She'll be back with the darts later. If not, I'll give you the dart money, Lu Chang'an said apologetically. The stall owner was nervous. Lu Chang'an also wanted to buy darts to shoot balloons, but he refused to give them to Lu Chang'an. What are you doing? Come and help me shoot darts. I only got a box of plasticine and a bubble blowing toy, and once I missed all 10 darts. Bai Hui is at this stall and has now adjusted it. He lost his emotions, shook his body, pouted and said a little aggrievedly. As for Lu Chang'an shooting Zhu Huntang with a dart, Bai Hui was shocked, but calmed down immediately. Lu Chang'an was doting on Zhu Huntang, and the boards were raised high and fell gently. If others tormented him like this, he would probably be in the hospital for a long time. Opportunities for accommodation experiences. The boss relies on people like you to make money. Lu Chang'an took a look at the rules and said, not a single balloon was punctured. Isn't there a grand prize? Not a single balloon was punctured, but the darts must at least land on the dartboard, the boss explained with a smile. Hers missed the mark 6 times, fell outside the target twice, and hit me twice. As expected of you, Lu Chang'an looked at Bai Hui and said with admiration. I, someone was watching me play at the time, so I was nervous and accidentally shot the boss. Bai Hui also felt a little embarrassed, holding back a laugh and grabbed Lu Chang'an's sleeve and shook it. You help me get that doll pig. Bai Hui swept another $10 and took 10 darts from the boss and handed them to Lu Chang'an. Lu Chang'an held 10 darts and threw them out. Snap, 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 10. Just like Zhou Dongdong picked up 10 small firecrackers and threw them into Shang Guandandan's small stove. After 10 blasts, 10 balloons burst on the target and there were 10 more darts. I just saw Lu Chang'an shooting people with darts, and I thought he was a master, but 10 shots were thrown casually and all of them hit the butt. It felt like a coincidence. Now, 10 of his shots hit balloons, which made the boss's eyes almost pop out. You must know that all 10 shots hit this time, which is much more skillful than throwing it on someone's butt. After all, shooting in the butt is just throwing 10 darts into a range, but the hand he just showed requires each of the 10 darts to hit a target. It has extremely high requirements for strength, direction, and holding posture. Scenes like this can only be seen in some games, and they are not as understated and casual as his. It's like the master of hidden weapons in martial arts novels. Ah! I want this. This white pig has black ears and a red heart on its butt. It's so cute. Bai Hui watched excitedly as the boss made his request. The boss sneered and handed the dolls over with some anxiety. It was okay to take out one. What he was afraid of was that the man would continue to play. Lu Chang'an did not continue, but Bai Hui seemed to be inspired and eager to try. A dart was thrown from behind and landed at Lu Chang'an's feet. Lu Chang'an looked back and saw Zhu Huntang hiding behind the flower bed, holding a handful of darts in his hand. He glanced at Lu Chang'an, then lowered his head and pinched her belt and pulled it around, as if he wanted to come over to play but was afraid that Lu Chang'an would come looking for her again. The way she settles accounts. Sighing slightly, looking at her pitiful appearance, Lu Chang'an put his hands behind his back and waved with one palm. Zhu Huntang laughed hee twice, ran over and threw the remaining darts in his hand towards the dartboard. The boss was startled when he saw this gesture, and quickly turned his head to stare. Fortunately, only one was hit. Why didn't I hit all the marks? Zhu Huntang couldn't understand this phenomenon. Lu Chang'an couldn't understand her incomprehension. Seeing her eyes widening as if there must be something wrong with these darts, he felt that she was more pleasing to the eye when she was hiding far away. Give me 20, 30, I want to come together. Zhu Huntang decided to be more chic and handsome than Lu Chang'an. My Tuo, you ejaculated so much at one time, it's difficult to count. You said that if you ejaculated out of 30 and hit 10, I can't give you the grand prize. The boss said awkwardly. Xiao Tang, don't throw it around, disrupting my rhythm. Bai Hui, who had shot 8 darts and hit 2, also expressed dissatisfaction. Go and shoot the one next to you, look at my rainstorm peach blossom dart. Zhu Huntang gave the boss 1,000 yuan. Even 1,000 yuan didn't stop the boss's mouth, because he was already smiling from ear to ear. Zhu Huntang casually grabbed a handful of darts and threw them out without even looking at them. This time I hit 5 darts. Haha, I am the dart god. Zhu Huntang proudly walked to the dartboard and snapped his fingers. The bread people who were scattered around just now gathered around. One of them took a photo of Zhu Huntang, and the others applauded loudly. Lu Chang'an and Bai Hui were used to seeing each other, and only the owner of the stall stood there blankly. Is this a boo? It must be a boo, right? Print it out and stick it in my photo area where the theme is various talent exhibitions. Zhu Huntang ordered. Yes. Talent. And a talent show? Lu Chang'an would like to see what kind of photos they have and what talents they record when given the chance. Zhu Huntang took the remaining darts and threw them around again. Although in the end it was impossible to calculate what grand prize she won according to the rules, the boss was very particular about letting her take the dolls there as she pleased. Bai Hui held the doll pig that Lu Chang'an shot for him in one hand, and helped Zhu Huntang pick a sheep with the other hand. It's boring. I just want to prove my dart skills. The trophies don't matter. Zhu Huntang took the sheep and then pushed it against Lu Chang'an's stomach a few times. Lu Chang'an looked at his phone and saw a message from Sumei. She would return to Junxia tomorrow morning. Your mother will come to Junxia tomorrow, did you know? Lu Chang'an looked at Zhu Huntang expressionlessly. Her days of being lawless and doing whatever she wanted were finally coming to an end. Do you think she can defeat me now that she's back? It's just an Antarctic, and its combat power is about the same as that of my penguin. No one can control me, BAA. BAA, Zhu Huntang shouted loudly, holding his hand. The sheep bleat doll ran away. All kinds of requests, thank you for your generous rewards, monthly tickets and subscriptions.